Well, look who it is. It's another Saturday night. Therefore, it's another Saturday Night Shoot the Breeze. I want to thank everyone who participated last week, both on the panel and in the chat. I want to thank everyone who listened to the playback. We got good numbers of people who listen to the playback. I want to thank all of you for doing that. I want to really thank you guys for leaving your comments, trying to extend the conversation here on YouTube in the comment section after the video posted, as well as on the Discord. I urge you guys to be responsive on the Discord. We're trying our best to create more community conversations. I saw Trigger Happy utilizing the Discord in the proper way. Let me remind you guys on the Shoot the Breeze Topics channel, do not try to have conversations there. Pull whatever it is that's been posted on the Shoot the Breeze Topics channel, pull it over to the Shoot the Breeze Lounge. At everyone or at the person who posted the original post, have the conversation there. But I want to just remind you guys to join the Discord and be active for me. It's just conversations. No one's asking for money. No one's asking to take a bunch of your time. It's an online conversation. Please try to respond. I'm going to try again this coming week to put up a music post. Please add your music selection so we could get a regular Pan-African or Pan-Africanist top 10 music from around the world. There's folks here from the continent, Ghana, Kenya, Senegal, you name it, Nigeria. There's folks from the Caribbean, the Bahamas, Trinidad. There's folks from the Black American South. Post up some music, man. Introduce us to some positive artists so that we could also create a top 10 and present that to the folks on the Discord. With that said, why am I here? I am here to give you a heads up as to what we're discussing tonight on Shoot the Breeze. We're going to discuss relationship jackpot. We're going to discuss, and this was supposed to happen last week, but we ran out of time. We're going to discuss Monica's story, the woman shipped from Ghana to Portugal in 1556. We're going to discuss Trump's militarization of the Caribbean. We'll discuss the secret to Donald Trump's success. And lastly, again, time permitting, we're going to look at a scenario and try to answer the question, is this the majority or outliers? All of those topics are scheduled for tonight. I hope we can get through all of them tonight, but something tells me the Trump conversation is going to take up quite a bit of time. So, with that said, in the meantime, I'm going to start the show officially. Drop a 1 for me if you can hear my voice. I didn't say anything at the beginning because no one was here with me. I see a couple of people are paying attention. Drop a 1 for me if you can hear my voice. Shout out to Afro Native World. Afro Native World, I've been meaning to respond to your text, but I've been traveling back and forth and busy every time I go back home. I apologize for not getting back to you these weeks later. I will make sure to get back to you this week. So shout out to Afro Native World, drops a 1. He says Sawabona. He says no worries. Thank you for that, Afro Native World. Jackadero's out in the chat. He dropped a 1. So you guys can hear me. You guys heard what we have in store tonight. I'm going to start the show officially. And on the other side, I'll drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1, as well as introduce any and all panelists. In the meantime, hit the like button, share the show to your social media or to your friends, text them what you're doing on a Saturday night. In the meantime, do stay tuned.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAC Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now, your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Just want to remind you guys before we get the show rolling that this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. There are other shows on the network you are invited to tune into.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the Pro-Black Perspective, where Black problems are addressed with Black solutions.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the Revolutionary Matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAC Radio.
Yes, indeed. Make sure you guys are tuned in to Brother Bakari on the BBN network. Make sure you're tuned into Forecast Radio. Make sure you're tuned into Realm in the Bush. And last but not least, make sure you're tuned into Kofi, the Black Critic. Make sure you tune into all of those shows on KWAZ Radio. You know, I don't say it enough times too, but make sure you also subscribe to KWAZ Radio on social media as well as on YouTube. I gotta start to do some things different on that channel, but make sure you subscribe. Let's get the numbers up on that channel so that we have all the tools. We have all the tools that we need to do all the things that we'd like to do in the future. Without further ado, man, I don't have any panelists with me yet. But what we'll do is we'll start it off ourselves with Shoot the Breeze topic number one. Shoot the Breeze topic number one. Well, as I say that, Jacadero joins us. Jacadero, how are you this week?
I'm in a good mood. You can hear me, right? I'm in a good mood.
Yes, sir. You're in a good mood? Okay. Okay, what happened? Did Bud Crawford wink at you or something like that this week?
I'm moving. So it's a smooth transition, unlike any other move that I've had before. But you guys are funny. I see you, Koku.
All right. Thanks for coming through. As per usual, I guess Buana heard you join. He decided to join too. Buana, how are you this week?
I'm good, Koku. Sorry about the lateness again, brother. Sorry.
That's okay. All good with you?
Yeah. Everything good. The weather is good down here. We had a bunch of rain last week. I think that we was catching back in a hurricane or some kind of tropical storm, but it's actually good weather tonight, so I'm good.
All right, good. Thanks for coming through. As usual. So I was just about to get into it. Shoot the Breeze topic number one says, "This is so true," in reference to relationship jackpots. This came with a link. Let me share my screen with you guys. Yeah, this should be it. Make sure you guys could see my screen. There we go. So this takes us to Twitter. And I forgot this judge's name, but we'll listen to what she has to say, and then we'll discuss it.
My husband had 4 kids. Damn. From his first wife. He had no money. Oh. But he loved me.
What more do you want from me?
It's a lot in black dating world, and I don't know if it's like this in the white dating world, but it's all about, are you high value? Are you an alpha male? Are you a beta male? What do you bring to the table? What do you bring to the table? It's gotten very superficial. They had this guy named Kevin Samuels.
Listen, man.
And he used to give this, you just tell women, you're too fat, you'll never get anybody.
Yeah.
It's become very adversarial, at least in some areas of the black community, but they're not looking for what we were looking for. They want value, and I wanted companionship. We do so much time on the internet now, you know, we are aggregating everybody else's angst by watching their sad stories, and then we're trying to prove a point, you know, well, I'm high value and I can get this guy and that guy. They're comparing what kind I got, how much, how good I got, how much money I got, how pretty I am, and, you know, is my guy an alpha guy, and I don't date guys with under $100,000. My husband had 4 kids from his first wife. He had no money. But he loved me. And look, I made more money now because I made a guy who made less than I did and was never going to make as much as I did. But he and I ended up doing quite well because he was the brother I needed.
That's a bar.
He couldn't have done it without me, and I couldn't have done it without him. That's when you've hit the jackpot. That's a bar.
I'll play it one more time because some folks got in late. Let me play it one more time.
My husband had 4 kids from his first wife. He had no money, but he loved me.
What more do you want from me?
It's a lot in black dating world, and I don't know if it's like this in the white dating world, but it's all about, are you high value? Are you an alpha male? Are you a beta male? What do you bring to the table? What do you bring to the table? It's gotten very superficial. They had this guy named Kevin Samuels.
Listen, man.
And he used to give this, you just tell women, you're too fat, you'll never get anybody.
Yeah.
It's become very adversarial, at least in some areas of the black community, but they're not looking for what we were looking for. They want value, and I wanted companionship. We do so much time on the internet now, you know, we are aggregating everybody else's angst by watching their sad stories, and then we're trying to prove a point, you know, well, I'm high value and I can get this guy and that guy. They're comparing what kind I got, how much, how good I got, how much money I got, how pretty I am, and, you know, is my guy an alpha guy, and I don't date guys with under $100,000. My husband had 4 kids from his first wife. He had no money, but he loved me. And look, I made more money now because I made a guy who made less than I did and was never going to make as much as I did. But he and I ended up doing quite well because he was the brother I needed.
That's a bar.
He couldn't have done it without me, and I couldn't have done it without him. That's when you've hit the jackpot. That's a bar.
Yeah, KW7 just gave me the name Lynn Toller. She used to be a judge on TV. I think she got divorced recently too, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe it was prior, but sometimes she's doing too much online too. She's online putting her legs behind her ears and all kind of shit. That I think, ma'am, you're like 60. Let's chill on that. But I like what she said here. I'll be curious to see what the gentleman. If you're hearing me, you can click the link as well. Join the panel, because oftentimes these should bring nuance, require a little bit of layering, so that okay, I can find that a husband just died. My bad. A little bit of nuance, a little bit of layering, where we get some female input on these topics. In general, across the diaspora, all these different Pan-African topics. This is so true. RE relationship jackpot. Let me hear from Buana on this one. Let me start with you. What say you to this?
No, I think Justice Tola is right. Um, the reality is, bro, in the time that I live on this planet, any woman can, any man can get any woman they want, regardless of career or money. And that sounds strange to see, but depending on the right day and the right time and your personal confidence in yourself, you know, it's a lot of superficialities as far as relationship and how people talk about it and value this and value that. It don't break down to that. It don't break down. It break down to you and it break down to the opposite sex. And I see in some judges, they some hood dudes, some gangsters. You know, it just depends, and it depends on what you are about. It depends on what that woman is about. It depends on your background. It depends on you all have a mutual commonality between each other. It just depends on so many other things. Just you know, uh, rather than just dollars and cents. Based on where you're coming from. And I think that experience have to teach a lot of people that. But the young people seem to believe and think as long as the person is making six figures, that makes them legitimate. You could make six figures and be beating your woman every day. Many judges or justices on the bench right now, they getting beat up like conch salad, and they make more money than their husband, but they still with them. And relationships are very strange. And uh, Coco was saying, it's very layered. It's not just black and white, and it's not just dollars and cents. You know, so I believe, and I agree with what the Justice Tola had to say here. I think that she's a very, very smart lady. And me personally, I wouldn't marry or I wouldn't necessarily. Meeting a woman with four kids for me is a lot. That's a lot, but that's not a suit that I feel that I could wear. Now it was her cup of tea, and she was able to have a enduring relationship for a very long time. In fact, when her husband died, she was a wreck. She was an absolute wreck. Now this is a multi-millionaire now. She was a wreck. Because she knew what it takes and in terms of commitment, to cause that relationship to be functional. So what is good for me is not might not necessarily be good for you, but it's good for me. So I I'm very critical with this internet dating, and these people have ideas on what is a good relationship. What is good for you don't ain't necessarily what's good for me. And what's good for me is not necessarily what's good for you. What works for me might not be what works for you. So you can't put a big suit on everyone and say, well, that should be sufficient. That's not always true. Relationships are extremely complicated. But I'll leave it there just to allow Black Steel to have a go.
Yeah,
We still cooking?
I don't know if you guys can hear me,
Okay,
but
I can hear you now.
jump from my phone. Jackador, can you hear me right now?
Yeah. It's getting better, but I can hear you now.
Yeah, I'm gonna join from my phone. Uh, Buana wasn't able to be heard well, right?
Yeah, Buana was able to. We were able to hear him very well. Yes.
Was Buana able to be heard well?
Yes.
I heard him just fine.
All right. All right, Jackador, you go next while I figure out trying to get on my phone. Okay.
Sounds good. Yeah. I wasn't too familiar with the judge, Miss Tolner. I think is her last name. But the relationship jackpot. Is it a jackpot? I've never been married, so I'm not 100% sure on if I can speak on this topic itself. But during college, I did have my girlfriend move in with me until that ended. I graduated though. That's all that matters. But one thing is that, for any relationship, respect needs to be there. She touched on a myriad of things dealing with red pill, pink pill nonsense. And that's all like, as a woman, I need my man to be 666, 6 figures, 6 foot, and whatever. And then for guys, it's like, hey, I need her to be next to a virgin, and that's here nor there. But the basis of this is that people are just saying that they want to be able to be respected, and they want to be able to reciprocate the same respect. Without the respect, a relationship just can't work. And so the jackpot, I think that she's referencing, is that her man came into her life when he had 4 kids, but it sounded like he still respected her. And the way that she talked about him, she respected him. So if the respect isn't there, if the respect isn't there, none of this stuff can happen. None of, like, forget everything else. If there's no respect, forget about how much money somebody makes, forget about how tall they are, forget about everything. If there's no respect, there's very little on like what can happen. I mean, like, look at it. We see multimillionaires and billionaires getting divorced every year, and I'm not in their relationships, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's a lack of a relationship or lack of a respect in those relationships. And then, slowly, especially with men, when your woman starts to disrespect you on a consistent basis, you start to mentally check out. And then it's only a matter of time.
That was Jackadero's lady calling right then. When he
Is that her?
With that said, let me hear from Black Steel on this. Black Steel, we'll see you.
So I'm gonna come at this a little different way, right? What I think she's talking about, and this is something I've long noticed, right? She's talking about the commodification of human relations, right? And I say this as a way to kind of put it in perspective, right? When I say commodification, that everything has been assigned a value to it, a price value. Even basic human interaction needs to have a price tag on it, right? So when people are asking for their partner to make a certain amount of money, this is an effect of late stage capitalism, in which profits are no longer as high as they used to. So now everything has been geared to create profit. The dating sites are meant to create people to keep coming back over and over again, right? The person has to make so much money because their only value to you is how much money you make. So everything is seen through the lens of the marketplace. They even have a term, sexual marketplace value. There are 10. She's a 5. She's a 7. He's a 10. He's an 8. He's a 3, right? So everybody is scored, right? But when you put a price tag on something, you automatically devalue it, right? So once you say how much the price is for something, it's no, like, how much is somebody's life worth? It's priceless. But I said, well, his life worth $2 million. Okay, but you automatically devalue it. So what she's talking about is, unfortunately, many people date with the idea of, what can I get out of this? How does this benefit, or how does this help me out in the long run? And unfortunately, that's how people have been moving for a long time. And I'm not saying that people have to live in poverty, right? People have to live in a cardboard box and you just get by on love. But when you start putting people in boxes, like, well, he doesn't make enough money for me, or he's not this, or she doesn't, have this certain thing. There's one thing for preferences, and that's perfectly fine. But there's a way that this is being done now, in that it dehumanizes people and it devalues people that I have an issue with. So I'm happy that Judge Toller was able to find her true love, because, like she was saying, she wanted love. A lot of people just want their bills paid. They just want to be. They want to live a certain lifestyle, and you as the person don't matter. What matters is what can you do for me? How can you help me achieve my goal of, living this certain lifestyle? And it just, it's disgusting, because it really does break people down to just, their base common elements. And there's no interest in who you are as a person. Again, I'm not saying you have to live in poverty. I'm not saying you should be with somebody you're not attracted to. But I think that sometimes people are so focused, especially in the U.S., on superficial things, that um, nothing else matters. To the point to where, if you fall on hard times, they're out, right? If a situation where permanently lose their job and they can't make the money they used to, and their wife leaves them. You know what I'm saying? Or she does, or you hear it all the time. I'm not going 50-50 with no man. And it's funny that it comes out the United States, when over half of Americans live paycheck to paycheck and can't come up with $500 in an emergency. But then you have people who get on social media apps. I understand they're speaking to the algorithm, right? And they make these declarations about how they're not going to split bills with anybody. And now, one girl said, "I'd rather work two jobs than go 50-50 with a man." So you rather do 200% and then go 50%. But it's the idea that as a man, you're supposed to provide a certain income, or if you don't make this amount of money, you're not worthy of love and affection from me. So that's just how I see it. It's just a consequence of living in the West and in late stage capitalism. I'll stop there. Thanks.
I
No,
wanna
I
add to
think that was good insight. I think you nailed it as far as the angle that she was coming at relationships from. I think you nailed it, Black Steel, and I agree with what you said. I know Brian wanted to add something, and I see Cheryl has joined us. By the way, shout out to the matron who's in the chat. Shout out to KW Don 7 and Jose Braun. Oh yeah, shout out to Brother Bakari, who's in the chat as well. And shout out to Icon Fire. Shout out to all of you who pointed out that her husband recently died. She wasn't divorced like I thought. My apologies for that. Real quick, Trigger Happy on the screen says, if you take a communal dynamic, you have to pair people that make sense, or train people to come with tangibles. He goes on to say, Western dating reflects a people who objectifies the universe. So they objectify relationships. As much as people think Black people don't need spirituality, this is exactly why we need it. With that said, Buana, add your thoughts there.
sure quickly because trigger happy always taking shots at me. But yeah, this whole thing. Sometimes when I hear the $100,000 plus figure, to make them to earn that kind of income, you must have to understand that you want there's some unrealistic goals and expectations I feel some people have without considering something. People who make money like that, they work all the time. They work 12 hours, 13, 14 hours a day, you know, easily, easily. They're always working. And the thing is, you gonna have to decide whether you will have a relationship with a partner or you will have a relationship with the person's money, female or male. And you have to also define what is success to you. Because a man might think in his mind, a success may just be being a great teacher. Now, Black Steel could tell you that even though he makes a substantial amount of money, most teachers don't earn substantial amounts of money. But in his mind, that is success. So are you gonna be willing to be with a partner like that or not? I feel sometimes these relationships are born out of, I call it plantation economy, out of the plantation economy. You are a valuable slave when you are young, youthful. This is what the West push, youthfulness. When you become old on the plantation, you are no longer useful because you can't garner the same labor that you used to garner when you was very young. This is out of the plantation master's head. But in other cultures, older people are given esteem. They're much more respected. So it's like, okay, I can earn 100, but when you get older, of course, you can make much less money. So is that to say you're going to be less valuable as you get older and grow older? And what about illness? What about sickness? What about mental disorders? All these things occur during the course of a relationship, and the internet has no answer for the complexities of a real actual relationship. They only say as long as he's making 600, six figures, six figures a year, I am content. But there are so many other factors that play into a real relationship that the internet doesn't have an answer for. I'll leave it there. Shirley, you can go ahead, sister.
Yeah, Sister Cheryl, how are you this week?
I'm doing good. So I was in Philly the past couple weeks, so I was kind of like in and out. I wasn't back home. I just traveled back home with my son. Oh yeah, that's what I was doing. Mm.
Okay, thanks for coming through this week, though.
Yeah, yeah, not a problem. So yeah, Judge Lynn Toler, yeah, she was on divorce court. That's it's something that came on television here in the States. I watched it all the time. Just thought it was interesting. Um, but I think with a relationship, I think I agree with a lot of the things everybody said on the panel. But a lot of people are very superficial, and usually when people go into relationships, they don't think about their values, what values they have in common. Like, for instance, this is something really small, but if you both agree that you're going to have children and one of you wants to send your children to school, but the other one wants to homeschool, well, that becomes a major issue. So it's things like this that we should be focused on. And I'm not saying that the money isn't important, but I think money is an important aspect. But I think you got to look at like long term. So if you get with a man and you require all of these things from him from the start, I don't think it's fair for women to require that from a man, especially if he's getting up on his feet. He has potential. He's doing a whole bunch of stuff, and just because in that moment he doesn't make that $100,000, that's a little. It's a little shallow. I don't know if that's the right word. Um, but I think sometimes the woman may be making the most money at the time, and maybe later he makes a little bit more money. But I think money is important, but to make it the centerpiece of a relationship is definitely not the right thing to do. Um, and just putting the African aspect on that, we as people like yeah, we get into the capitalism. Who can make the most money? Who can work the hardest? It becomes the slave, the work hard Olympics. Which slave can work the hardest? And I feel like we kind of get into that, like, oh well, I'm doing this and that, and I'm doing this, I'm always doing something, and you're not doing nothing, so you must be lazy. Like, we get into this type of thing. So with relationships, you gotta like, one of the people in the relationship has to be willing to fall back a little bit, because y'all both can't do, like, y'all both can, but at what cost? Like, you can both have high power careers, you can both make a whole lot of money, but if you're making a whole lot of money, like someone said, you're working all the time, you're working over 40-hour weeks, like you don't really have time for children. You don't, the maybe some of your family members have the children, but you don't have that interaction with your children, and before you know it, you miss out on all the things that your children growing up, you miss out on a lot of things. And most parents, to be honest, and it's not really all their fault, is a lot of parents don't even know their children. That's why when COVID happened, they stayed home with their children. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know these kids. They don't know their own children. So I think it's important to, if you can, if you're in that position, to have one parent, maybe stay home, maybe do focus on the children. But a lot of the times nowadays, you see people say, well, that person, whoever decides to stay home, they must be lazy. We get on to this thing. So I think it's like the slave Olympics, like who can work the hardest. So I think we need to come off of that as a people, but and get back to like community based things instead of looking at material things, because a lot of these women, they talk about, oh well, he don't make enough money for me. These are usually the type of women that need to have their weaves done every 2 weeks and their nails done every 2 weeks and stuff like that. It's just very superficial things that you really don't need, you know what I mean? So you got to be careful, you know, who you lay down with, who you get in a relationship with, because if these are the things that they're valuing, then they're probably not for you. So I'll just leave it there.
I appreciate it. This is why I like for black women to come on the panel to give that other viewpoint as well, or to corroborate some of the thoughts that we gentlemen might have. So I appreciate that, Sister Cheryl. With that said, let me say what's up to Daily Affirmations by Pauline, who's in the building. Joe, who's also in the building as well. Thank you guys for being here. Shout out to Afro Native World for the $5 holler, as they say. Just a reminder of what Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 is. This is so true in reference to relationship jackpot. Let's welcome in Pan Mulattoism.
Peace, family. How y'all doing?
Uh, doing good. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. And I try to be brief because I know it's a number of different panelists. Now I know that there are a lot of different accents on the panel, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think that you all may be Africans and or Caribbeans. My question is, and I'm not even disagreeing with your criticism of the dating dynamics within the U.S., but my question is, why not return to your countries of origin and date women there and help build your countries and, you know, eradicate the brain drain that's taking place in your countries of origin?
Yo, who let this dickhead on here, man? Who let this dickhead on?
Y'all so stupid.
Obviously, it was me. Obviously, it was
Oh,
me.
fuck, I'm crying right now. Who let this dickhead on here?
I'm curious as to how Pan Mulattoism found Shoot the Breeze, by the way. Just out of curiosity.
All right, and just for the record, I asked a question and it was not asked. I was asked another question, but I'll answer your question if you answer mine. Can we make that deal?
No, nigga, Herb, say what the
What
fuck
does
you
your
got to say.
question have to do with our question? That the shoot the
Yes,
breeze
and I'll
conversation.
respond to the sister because she's the only one with a little bit of decorum. The reason I asked that question is because I've been throughout the African world and the Caribbean world, and I've seen the abject poverty. So my question is, why are you all laughing on the internet in the U.S. while your cousins are in squalor in the Caribbean and in Africa,
Well,
respectfully?
first of all, your first sentence is incorrect because not all of us are from Africa or the
Well, I
Caribbean.
wasn't talking to you, brother. I was
But
speaking
I'm
to
but
the
I'm talking
Africans
to
and
you
the
though. So you
Caribbean.
come on our
Yes, but your booty
you come on our
clapping,
page
your
talking
booty
bullshit.
clapping
All
for
you are is
Africa.
come to troll, and that's why I'm
All right, go
responding
ahead.
to you with so much hostility because you're a troll, right?
And brother, do you realize you don't have the booty clap
First of
for
all, I'm
the
not your brother.
Africans?
First of all, I'm not your brother.
You don't
Let's
have
be
the
perfectly
booty clap
clear.
for the Africans. Let the Africans hold their own
As
nuts.
I was saying, I'm not your
Let the
brother. Number
let
one.
the
Number
Africans hold
two,
their
you
own
come on
nuts.
here to troll, and
All
you're
right,
being
go ahead.
treated like a troll, asshole.
Don't you realize you don't have to hold the Africans nuts? They can do that themselves. So let the Africans and
You know what?
Caribbean
How about you let your mama hold mine?
Hey, wait a minute. Hold on. Can we keep it on the topic? Like,
No, we got to
talking
get
about
rid.
the
We
relationship.
got to deal. We got to deal hostile with people like that because he came
Yeah.
to troll. Pan mulattoism.
I'm sorry.
Fuck out of
Yeah,
here,
I'm sorry.
man.
I had to get him up out of
Yeah, get him
here.
out of here, man. He came to
He
troll. That's all
funny.
he came to.
Yeah.
He didn't come to add any value. He was come out the assumption, oh, we're tethers. Or, the whole idea. Why don't you go back to your country? Like, nigga, this ain't your country either. Have you not looked at the news?
Yeah, it's.
He sound Marcus Garvey the way he sound like he grew up in an apartment with lead paint is what it sound like.
I haven't studied him. I don't know his information.
I was always curious on when we would get individuals that have that point of view. I think it was a few weeks ago that I said that I actually encourage that, whether it's the Hebrew Israelites or FBA or splinter cells of ADOS, come on the show, because for me, I just want to actually see and hear if those sentiments, the xenophobic sentiments, actually are existing outside of Twitter Spaces, and it sounds like it is, but I'm not 100% sure on if he just wanted to do that for clout. But if I can, Koku, to answer his question, that again doesn't really have anything to do with the topic, as the relationship jackpot, but why some of us are here in the United States. I can only speak for myself, but I come from a household where my stepfather was a refugee. South Sudan didn't even exist at that time, but Sudan itself was pretty much trying to commit genocide of the Black peoples. So if you know any geopolitics, pan mulattoism, Sudan proper, the Sudan Khartoum, is pretty much like a Black-ish Arab state. So it's descendants of Black and Arab peoples, and they've, for centuries, they've had a big problem with the Black peoples of South Sudan. And so decades prior to South Sudan getting its independence in 2011, it was hard, very, very hard for South Sudanese peoples, present day South Sudanese peoples, to be able to get jobs. My stepfather went to college for electrical engineering, and even he had a hard time getting work in the electrical engineering world. Firms would just completely discriminate against him, even though he spoke proper Sudanese Arabic. So that's one part. Another part is, when you're in these spaces where you're marginalized. I know that we hear that term a lot in the United States, but to actually be around it and see that with tangible things, like, hey, you're going to apply for a home loan in an African country, and they're telling you, what is your last name? That like there's that there doesn't have to be a documentary for this. This is actually happening. Hey, what is your last name? Hey, do you believe in Islam? Well, I don't think that we're going to be giving you a home loan. These are critical things that can mean a difference in somebody saying that, do I want to remain in this country? Second part is that, why Africans are in, African and Caribbeans are in the United States, is because the United States has armies, active armies and military bases in these countries. So it's like, if you want to, blame Black immigrants for being in the country, ask the military that your taxes go to, why are you there in the first place? And then maybe we can have a conversation. I can go on and on. I'd rather not, just because I'm sure everybody else has their piece to say, but maybe, just maybe, it answers your question a little bit on why, we're not back home. Me, myself, my plans are to go back home. I'm a Kenyan. Both my parents are Kenyan, and we have an awesome president. And I'm not just saying that just because I want to go back home, but I feel like he's in the right direction versus the previous president before him, William Ruto. So,
No, that was a great response, brother. And can I ask you respectfully, don't you realize that by coming to the U.S., you are literally paying taxes to the same U.S. government that you claim is destabilizing your country of origin? How does that help?
Yeah. So one of the things that you can do to offset that is, just like myself, you fund. I don't know if you're familiar with the word remittance, but it's basically sending money back to people that are not in the same land or the jurisdiction
Yes,
that
of
you're
course,
in.
of course.
Okay,
But
so just
brother,
give.
don't you realize that you spend more money in the countries such as the U.S. that you leave to, or the countries that you flee to, such as the US, such as Canada, such as the UK, you invest more you invest more money here than you do to your country of origin, brother. Remittance is essentially a tip, but you've invested more into the host country that you fled to. So I'm asking, how does that solve the problem, brother? And I'm genuinely asking that respectfully. Go ahead.
Here's some stats just to bring it up, because you talk about the money factor, and hey,
Yes.
it's often that African and Caribbean immigrants are spending more in these countries of the West than they are by the remittances. That may or may not be true. I think that's a case by case basis. But just a stat for you: in 2022, it was reported by Western Union, Boss Revolution, PayPal, that over 100 billion US dollars was sent by the African diaspora to these African countries. 100 billion. I just want to let you understand.
No, I'm familiar with that. Yes.
Yeah, that's significant. Some of these African countries, they only have a GDP. Yeah, go ahead.
Hear me out. My point is that number one, is nothing to be proud of to be to be dependent on the U.S. economy, and number two, what you omitted is the amount of taxes that these same diasporans pay to the U.S. government, to the UK government, to the Canadian government. Matter of fact, I was just in the Philippines and in China. Full disclosure, I have Asian ancestry. I was just in Asia. I even seen Africans over there, brother. So the question is, in order to eradicate the brain drain, don't you understand that it's beneficial for Africans to return to their countries of origin? Nigeria could be better than the US. Nigeria could be better than China, but it will never be better than these countries if you continue to flee. You have to understand that, brother.
I mean, again, this is a case by case basis. Not every African country is, going for individual reasons such as, hey, I might not be able to get a job in my country. Some people are actually fleeing turmoil. Some people are actually saying, hey, if I go back because of my last name, I'm not from the tribe that is in current military power, it's going to be an issue for me. So I would, if I was you, again, you're a grown man, it sounds like, so you can take upon yourself and do what you want. But, I would ask myself, like, is it life and death for some of these people to go back to these African countries? That's one. Number two, it is a free world, especially if the country that you're immigrating from lacks immigration laws, and you have the money to go ahead and take your family or yourself out of these places in the Caribbean and Africa. Why not? Why should people just be
let me answer that. And brother, we cannot get anywhere if we don't acknowledge each other's points. When you say something true, I'm able to acknowledge that. You have to acknowledge that in the long run, it does not benefit Africans to flee Africa. Additionally, and this is the point I have to stand on, you all as Africans, when you come to these nations that you flee to, you are investing more of your time, of your labor, of your capital into these Western nations that you criticize. You're investing more here than you are into Africa. And in closing, brother, descendants of U.S. chattel slaves, we know about being persecuted by our government, but we never fled in mass numbers. We stayed in the U.S. and fought our way off of slave plantations. So you have no excuse to flee your country.
I'm glad that you said that.
Jackadero, can we stop entertaining this dude? Jesus fucking Christ,
man. One last thing. He said that descendants of American slaves were, they never left.
No, I said in mass numbers, brother.
In mass numbers. Okay. I was gonna say, because Haiti would like to have a conversation with you, but it sounds like
speak about the numbers. Speak about the numbers of us that went to Haiti.
I don't have the specific numbers, but Frederick Douglass, when he was hold
on, Jackadero, stop 1 second, because this whole idea of Black Americans never fled is not true. What is the Great Migration?
In mass numbers, you're not listening.
What is the Great Migration? How many millions of people left?
We didn't leave the country.
But it doesn't matter, though. You're saying
it does matter.
It doesn't matter. You left the South for better conditions than the North.
In the same country, right?
1879. They left
the same country
in the West.
Is that in the same country?
Railroad left the United States for Canada and Mexico and the Bahamas.
Not in mass numbers.
And Spanish Florida. So the idea that Black people just stayed and fought is absolutely not true.
Let me respond to that, brother. Let me respond to that.
In America are some bullshit where we're just stronger, everything else. That's simply not true.
Let me ask you a question. total, how
Hold
many
on,
Black Americans? How many Black Americans left the U.S.?
I'm
Check me.
Black American. I would love to leave the U.S.
But how many of us actually left?
Pan mulattoism. Hold
Yes,
on a
brother.
second. There was a question asked you, and you said you was going to respond to the question
Yes,
asked. By the way, we're not discussing this topic you brought here. We're
exactly,
discussing something else. But how did you get to be here?
exactly. And literally, I typed in StreamYard and I went through the list, and your page is one of the pages that popped up. Now I answered your question directly. Let me ask your brother, the Black American brother that was just speaking.
No, Pan mulattoism. You don't run the show here. You're a
Well, I
guest
never
here.
claimed I did, brother.
You're a guest here, right?
Yes.
And like
So
I
welcome
said,
me in as a guest.
we're not having that. The discussion you came and interrupted. That's the discussion we're having, right?
So we're speaking about dating. Can I? I asked a question about dating that was never asked. My question was, if you have so many criticisms about the dating life
Brother,
in
we can
Western
criticize
nations,
who we want to criticize.
no, you could do that. I'm asking, why not go back to your country of origin and date there?
And the thing,
Simple
listen,
question.
we never specifically said, for example,
let him
talk
answer
about
that.
Black Americans.
Let him
We weren't
answer that.
saying
Let him answer
Americans. Just keep the fuck out of here, man.
that. Go date in your country of origin. Why not do that?
Can I say
Simple
something?
question.
Can I say something? Can I say
Yeah, go
something?
ahead, Buana. I
So,
got Pan mulattoism up out of here
oh,
because number one, I don't like the continuous fleeing talk.
yes,
I know
yes,
that's the FBA talking point, and this guy's half Asian or some shit. I don't want to
yes,
hear that shit. But go
no
ahead.
problem. The, the only question I wanted to ask him is, why didn't the president of the United States marry a woman from the United States rather than going to? Where's Melania Trump from again? One of these. He saw object poverty.
Slovenia,
One,
Slovenia.
yeah, which is a abject poverty-stricken European country. He decided to find a wife over there and bring it to the United States. He didn't find FBW woman. So you first have to start there first before you start attacking your brothers first. And there's no questions on that because Melania Trump, her first language is not even English. So I wanted to ask him a few questions. And when he talks about the Caribbean and Africa, as if everybody in the Caribbean and Africa are economic refugees and starving. Brother, I don't know where you've been. I don't know who you've been around. But contrary to popular belief, not everybody in the Caribbean and Africa are broke. In fact, some people who come to America, you may not know, have a bit of money in their pocket. I don't know if you know that, but you need to maybe sit down and talk to someone who is not in your circle, in that echo chamber of yours. I would only say that.
Yeah, good stuff. Does anyone have any last words for this first prompt and this interruption that we dealt with there?
We got to be who we have. But Pan mulattoism, this is not even. He's not even. They're not even trying anymore. Pan mulattoism is funny as fuck. But no, some people just come to troll. This was not done. His questions were not in good faith. And anybody with any type of historical knowledge, right, will understand that. And then, first of all, we never specified what we were criticizing. We were criticizing the commodification. I was talking about late stage capitalism and commodification relationships. I never said anything about what nationality the person had to be from, right? That was never in my statement. I don't. But when we say what we say, right? A lot of these FBA people like to come with this ahistorical nonsense, and we got to combat it every time we run up against it. Whenever we have something, especially the whole thing, we didn't flee type of nonsense, because Black people was running for their lives all up and down United States, into Mexico, into Canada. It's ridiculous how they like to have this thing of oh, we didn't flee in mass numbers, because you couldn't. Because even right now, Black people can't leave the U.S. because we don't have the money. We're poor. But anyway, that distraction. I know Jacadero was trying to talk to dude in good faith. Man, it's a waste of time. You got to be hostile with your enemies.
Yeah,
I hear it. I hear it, man.
Yeah, I actually appreciate it. And by the way, the reason why I let him back on it was in hopes that you'd realize it's a serious conversation and that you would change up your, switch up your style and come and have a good faith conversation. But that clearly wasn't going to be the case. But I like how Jacadero kind of spoke to the guy. One other point the guy made too. He said to Jacadero, if the U.S. is destabilizing y'all's countries like y'all claim is happening, dog, the U.S. been doing that, number one, and we're gonna talk about it tonight. What Trump is now starting to do in the Caribbean right now. If you see a bunch of people, not fleeing, but leaving Venezuela and stuff like that, there's a reason for that, right? But we'll talk more about it tonight. With that said, man, let's go on to shoot the breeze topic number 2. I hope we discuss that first prompt sufficiently before the distraction, but if not, we can always circle back to it in a future episode. Shoot the breeze topic number 2 says a story on a clash of worldviews. Monica's story, the woman shipped from Ghana to Portugal in 1556 to stand trial for using traditional medicine interpreted as witchcraft by Eurasians. This came, let me see if my computer will allow me to share this on screen. It's actually an article, so I'm going to have to do some reading here. But this is from Kenya Star. Jacadero should be familiar. It says Monica's story, the woman shipped from Ghana to Portugal in 1556 is on trial for using traditional medicine. It says standing before the Inquisition in Lisbon, Portugal in 1556, Monica Fernandez, a woman from the coast of modern-day Ghana, was accused of casting malevolent spells and making pacts with demons. Her crime? Seeking a traditional Akan remedy for a simple cat bite. The Portuguese Inquisition was a powerful institution tasked with identifying, investigating, and punishing any belief or practice that deviated from official Catholic doctrine. The Inquisition was established in 1536 during the expansion of the Portuguese Empire, one of the world's first global maritime powers. Fernandez's trial, recorded in meticulous detail by the Inquisitor Geronimo de Azambuja, offers a rare and powerful window into a 16th century clash of cultures. It reveals how a colonial power systemically misunderstood and criminalized local customs, rebranding indigenous knowledge as dangerous sorcery. As a historian, I spent my time searching for connections between people across the early modern world, especially the lives of women and children within the vast Portuguese Empire. While I was researching the trials of indigenous women in colonial Brazil, a question began to form. Were women in other parts of the empire, like West Africa, also being targeted for their traditional knowledge? This question led me to the archives of the Portuguese Inquisition and to a remarkable case file from 1556. The file detailed the trial of Monica Fernandez, an Akan woman from what's now Ghana. Her story opens a rare window into the personal, human impact of colonization. It shows how a vast imperial power operated underground by misunderstanding, criminalizing, and attempting to erase indigenous ways of knowing. Recovering stories like this helps us understand a legacy of cultural suppression that continues to resonate today. Monica was born to Akan parents. The Akan are a collection of related peoples primarily living in modern-day Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. Organized into matrilineal states, they had established sophisticated societies with rich cultural, religious, and social knowledge systems long before the arrival of Europeans. The Portuguese first arrived on the West African coast in the late 15th century, driven by a desire for gold. They established their authority by constructing fortified trading posts like Sao Jorge de Mina, now Elmina Castle, that imposed their laws and religion on the surrounding communities. Monica lived and worked in and around Sao Jorge de Mina, a place of intense cultural collision. Baptized into the Catholic faith, she existed between two worlds, the rigid, hierarchical society of the European fortress and the vibrant Akan village of Adina that surrounded it. Like others, she moved between these spaces to socialize, shop, and crucially seek medical care. It was this last activity that brought her to the attention of the Inquisition. Instead of visiting the Portuguese apothecary at the fortress, Monica consulted a local Akan healer on, what's that, Kempho or Adunsini to treat a cat bite. She procured an ointment, a common practice she saw as rudimentary healthcare. To the Inquisitor, however, this was proof of heterodoxy, or a belief, opinion, or practice that went against the officially established doctrines of Catholicism. Monica's choice to trust her community's medical expertise over that of the Portuguese was seen not as a rejection of European authority, but as evidence of a pact with the devil. The accusations against Monica were dramatic and personal. The initial charge stemmed from a quarrel with another African woman, Ana Fernandez, who was visiting Sao Jorge de Mina from Lisbon. Witnesses claimed that after an argument, Monica cast a spell on Ana. Weeks after returning to Portugal, Ana succumbed to a mysterious illness that allegedly caused the skin to peel from her face. This rumor, spread by a single witness, became the centerpiece of the case. The rumor of Monica's curse spread, prompting a formal inquiry by the Portuguese captain at Elmina Castle. It was only after this local investigation, which took months, that Monica was officially detained and transported as a prisoner to face the main tribunal in Lisbon. The Inquisitors' interest went beyond this single event, expanding to include other, more everyday practices. Witnesses interviewed at Elmina Castle also claimed Monica conducted spells using chickens and yams. While these details were recorded as evidence of sinister rituals, they were in fact staple elements of Akan cultural life. Yams, a starchy edible tuber similar to a potato, were a vital food source and central to ceremonies honoring ancestors, while animal sacrifice was common preparation for deities. What the Portuguese inquisitors labeled witchcraft or charms was for Monica and her community simply medicine and custom. The trial documents painstakingly list her heterodoxical activities, but in doing so, they inadvertently preserve a record of the very cultural knowledge the Inquisition sought to destroy. Monica's case became a catalog of everyday Akan practices seen through a distorted colonial lens. Throughout months of imprisonment and interrogation, Monica was pressed to confess to witchcraft. She consistently refused, and in Akan culture, the concept of Bai, trigger happy, let me know if I pronounce that wrong, is sometimes translated as witchcraft, but it specifically refers to acts of acute spiritual wickedness or illness. Monica's actions did not fit this category. She was treating a physical ailment, a cat bite. Monica's refusal to accept the label of quote unquote witch was therefore not simple denial. Her defense was based on a clear cultural distinction, one she clung to despite her limited Portuguese, when she insisted that she had committed no crime because, quote, all the black men and women of Mina did it too. She was not admitting to collective guilt. She was trying to explain that her actions was customary medicine, not malevolent spiritual work. She understood the difference between her own system of knowledge and the crime of which she was accused, and she refused to conflate them. Ultimately, Monica was found guilty of witchcraft, but the inquisitors deemed her actions quote unquote minor. She was given the light sentence of a period of religious re education in Lisbon to study Christian doctrine. Monica secured her release by demonstrating good Christian behavior, but was forbidden from returning to her homeland. Monica's light sentence was relatively uncommon, but unlikely to have been the first instance of re education. It is possible that women from other Portuguese colonial territories also suffered similar fates, but many records have been lost due to the Lisbon earthquake of 1755 and the deliberate destruction of the Goa Inquisition cases, which also took in East Africa. We don't know what happened to her after her release, but her story, buried in the archives for over 450 years, remains deeply relevant. It is a powerful personal account of how colonialism operated, not just through military force, but through displacement and the deliberate suppression of local knowledge. Monica's trial is a stark reminder that the branding of indigenous practices as quote unquote magic or superstition was a tool used to assert dominance and erase entire ways of knowing the world. Goodness gracious, that was a. With that said, because someone's been knocking on the door, I don't know why. But with that said, let me start with Black Steel. Black Steel, what are your thoughts on Monica?
Oh, well, that story did not end the way I thought it was going to end. I thought she was going to be burned at the stake. Koku, you complain like my students when they have to read a passage. Readers are leaders, man. What can I say? Leaders, man. But this reminds me of another African woman who was accused of witchcraft in the famous Salem witch trials in 1692 in Massachusetts. There was a black woman named Tituba who came from, I believe she was of African descent, but she came from Barbados or some Caribbean island, and she was accused by the little white girls who started the whole hubbub about witches, of teaching them witchcraft and how they would deal with the devil and everything else like that. African religions, African spirituality, any type of manifestation of our Africanness has always been treated as tantamount to being in league with the devil, right? They live in a black and white world, dichotomous world, right? You're either of God or you're not of God. All other religions are just tricks by the devil to lead men astray. They would look at it like that. And then what happens is that when they encounter any belief that is not Christian, and then you can hear it today. If you ever talk to a devout Christian, they say it's the devil. Any religion that is not Christian, and some people go so far as to any religion that is not evangelical Christianity is seen as something that is of Satan, right? So it could be so much as herbs or pouring libations or anything that's a manifestation of any traditional spirituality, especially anything that comes from Africa, right? Because they want black people to lose all connection to their motherland, and that's why they kind of, especially in places like Spain, Portugal, they really England, they had the whole Inquisition and the that was created to find out people who were heretics, people who were pretending to be Christian. After the Christians took back the Spain from the Muslims in 1492, they created an Inquisition to root out heresy, to find those people who converted but were really practicing their beliefs in secret. So that's what this black woman who was basically exiled from her home for making an ointment to cure her from an animal bite. Basically the equivalent of using Neosporin as we do it nowadays. She was exiled from her homeland, and it's unfortunate that they didn't take her life. And when we say these things, it's like we have to understand that these people have always been at war with our spiritual systems, our culture, our religion. It's never an attempt to understand it. It's never an attempt to coexist. One has to has to rule, the other has to dominate, stamp it out, demonize it, to the point where we, as African people, demonize our own traditional spiritual beliefs. 95% of the African continent is either Muslim or Christian. So think about that. There's over a billion people in Africa, and of those billion people, 95 of them believe either Christianity or Islam, either one of the Abrahamic faiths. That's. I don't think there's a ratio like that outside of maybe Native America. Many Native Americans, are Christian, but I don't think we see that outside of that. We don't see that type of ratio anywhere. There's not a large number of Christians in China. Japan has a population of Christians 1%, but for African people, they made sure to demonize our spirituality and the way we practice anything, how we relate to the spirit world, relate to the natural world. Anything can be seen as demonic or devilish. You even had Black people in America saying they're glad their ancestors were enslaved because they weren't. They'd be worshiping trees. So I'll leave it there. But yes, I'm sorry. You learn more every day. Somebody who's like myself who loves history, I hear these stories, and it's just tragic, really, that this happened to her. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Appreciate that commentary, Black Steel. With that said, let me hear from Sister Cheryl. Cheryl, what say you?
Yeah. So yes, it just reminds me of like um, just how Black people today react to when you tell them when you want to cure something, or when you want to if someone has a cold, if someone has a fever. Oh, you should go to the doctor. Do this and that. They don't. But when you try to counteract that and you say, well, we're not going to the doctor, we're going to do this, we're not going to take Tylenol, we're not going to do those the typical things that the West does, and they look at you like, like you got a dick blowing out of your forehead or something. They look at you like you're crazy. Like, why would you not? So, for instance, with my son, why would you not take your son to the hospital? They see it as you being you're not being a good parent, and it just it's like, and a lot of the times people who are against natural medicine and everything, they don't even have to be Christian per se, but they have Christian values. So what I mean is, like, they may not go to church, they may not practice the Bible or whatever, but the Christianity is so ingrained in them, in their values and everything that they do. It's like it just influences everything that they say and they do. And there's so many examples of this, even with how, like, and I keep going back to this, but even how COVID turned out. If you had somebody that said, oh well, I'm not taking the COVID shot, they all looked at you like you're crazy, because they rely so heavily on Western medicine, but that the foundation for that is the Abrahamic religions. I don't think they would see it that way. You try to explain it to them, I don't think they would understand. But that's kind of what it is, and it's really sad and unfortunate, because it's this type of system that where we're not relying on our traditional medicines and our natural, natural, everything that all the natural medicines and all the things that we do naturally. It's the reason why you have so many Westerners, um, passing early. You have a lot of them passing away. It's unheard of. I mean, it should be. I mean, like, we're talking about, like, okay, I'm 36 and I'm about to be 36. I know at least I know a handful of people my age that are passing away from cancer, or they get cancer really early, and I'm like, this is unheard of. This should not be. But we don't think to get away from the things in America that cause that may cause these cancers. Like you don't, anytime you hear natural, they're like, oh, oh, the natural stuff. Oh, that's not good. I have a friend that did the natural stuff and it killed them. I'm like, that's such a bad faith argument because you don't know their medical history. You don't know what exactly they did. It's just so bad faith to say that something natural killed you, but all this Western medicine and Western food and the lack of exercise in this country, it's just crazy to think that you would think natural stuff is killing you, but all this other stuff is not. That's part of the Christ insanity that we're dealing with. So I mean, it's really deep, and it's unfortunately not much we can do, So
Appreciate that, Cheryl. Sister Raw's out in the chat. She says them Caucasoids make you sick, and our people run to them for help, and the Caucasoids make them sicker. Very true statement. Uh, um, there's a good conversation going on between Trigger Happy and Afro Native World. So you guys listen to the playback. You tap into the chat. Oftentimes there's good side conversations going on. So check those out. Thank you, Sister Cheryl. With that said, let me hear from Buana next. Buana, what say you?
Yeah, for me, I personally just view this as getting rid of your competition.
Buana, can you raise your volume a little bit?
Sure, sure. Let me see if I can. Oh God.
Did Buana leave?
Can you hear me, Coco?
I can hear you. It's kind of low, but go ahead. Go ahead.
You said cut the volume up, not lower.
No, let me go and come back in. I'll come back in, man.
Now we can hear you. Now we can hear you. Go on. We can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, this is a matter of competition. Okay, competition. The Church of Jesus Christ Incorporated, known as the Catholic Church, by vis-a-vis the Portuguese, was just simply trying to get rid of their competition. The church at that time, it was run completely by males, and the highest office in the Portuguese world was the Pope. A white male from Italy. You know, and they like usually like old men who can't have sex anymore. They feel very threatened by spiritual women in leadership offices. That's the first thing. That's the first thing. So they felt you feel like you have to get rid of your competition because you don't want your parishioners to ever get wind of some spiritual woman from Africa who possess the same so-called powers that you do. So you got to get rid of the competition. The Catholic Church is notorious for doing that. We're gonna scratch out any religion that is not Christian. Vis-a-vis, we're gonna perceive it as witchcraft and we'll burn you at the stake. This is what they did. The second thing is you gotta get rid of the medical competition. This lady is practicing traditional medicine. Now in Europe at the time, they had their own doctors. They had their own doctors who was pilfering and selling whatever they were selling in terms of medication. But this lady from Ghana, wherever she was from, had another view of practicing medicine. So now, if my medicine is more effective than your medicine, but I sell in my medicine for much less than, or if I sell in it because I could be giving it away, then you provide your adherence to your medication. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna try to get rid of my competition. So they feel threatened by it. We gotta get this out. We gotta stop this out, and we don't want this thing to flourish in the Western world. It's just a matter of getting rid of competition. The funny thing about it is, if these same religious men was to come to 2025 right now, would they burn the scientists at the stake? Because if you really think about it, a lot of the pharmaceutical scientists, they go to the African continent because they have discovered a lot of the natural medicine could be synthesized into a pill form, and then they sell it back to the Western world for $1.99, per pill, per pill. So it's just an interesting feature of history. It's just an interesting feature of history But I think it has to be with a whole lot of misunderstanding. But like I say, it's competition, and the Catholic Church, Jesus Christ Incorporated, was trying to get rid of their competition. That's how I see it. But I'll leave it there just to be brief.
Yeah, appreciate that, boy. Um, with that said, let's hear from Jacadera.
Yeah. First, to answer Afro World, no, that wasn't pan mulattoism was not my guest. it was just ironic how a few weeks ago I asked for opposing ideologies to come on the show, and then we got one. So it's just ironic. With the story of this lady, this is something that has been happening, man, as far back as I can read. Uh, I think if I remember right, there was a story about how one of the Portuguese had like a I think it was like a rash or something. And what we know is that oftentimes back then in medieval Europe is that even for like the slightest rash, an amputation would likely occur. Well, I think they were enslaving peoples at that time from the western coast, and one of the enslaved peoples, for some odd reason, because like you got to ask like yourself what uh what what mindset, what exactly was going on. But instead of letting your captor die from like their rash, he decides to save him with medicinal herbal medicinals, and they thought the world of this guy. But also there was suspicion of who is this guy? Was this guy a bush doctor? I say this to say that, man, we got the best stuff, man. we got pun not intended, but we got the best dope. Africa's been had the best dope, man. It's no surprise that uh, I think it was Dr. Africa, or maybe Dr. Sebi had said that, for every disease, there's the cure. The cure is here on earth for every single disease. And so it just, this story just affirms it. It just says that, what you got going for you, the moment that somebody, especially your enemy, tells you like what you got going on is demonic, and whatever it is that you're believing in, you shouldn't be doing that. Just know that you're on the good path. I don't have too much to say about it, but what an awesome story, at least from the perspective that we got the best dope, man. Shout out to Africans.
Appreciate that, Jacadero. I think I got everyone on that one, right? I think I got everyone. You guys check out the chat again. Trigger Happy drops a. Hold on a second. Yeah, Trigger Happy drops an article in the chat. You guys can check out as well. I think he said it's also a prompt. I guess is coming up in a bit. But is there any last thoughts on Shooter Beast topic number 2 as far as Monica's story?
Only thing I would add is that the entire Western medicine apparatus is irredeemably racist, right? It is so many situations. There was a story in the news not too long ago where this black man was literally having a stroke, and the police took him to jail instead of the hospital and let him die in there. You hear so many stories about black women dying in childbirth, black people being misdiagnosed, black people seeking help and then being ignored and told they're faking it, or they told that their symptoms aren't real, and they take them. The people have died because they refuse to treat them, right? So whenever we hear about this woman's story, fast forward 500 years or so, we have to understand that this is ultimately what they wanted to do, was replace a system of healing with a system of death, right? They wanted black people to be at their beck and call, and to be able to have to depend on them for any type of sustenance. So it's just very, even now you see how the medical apparatus works against African people.
Absolutely. Appreciate that. Shout out to Musings and And Marcus Garvey is the way in the chat earlier when we had the interruption. I didn't get a chance to address them. So shout out to them as well. Let's go to Shooter Breeze topic number 3 for time's sake. Shooter Breeze topic number 3 says Trump's militarization of the Caribbean. This came with several links. We're going to work our way through all of them. Hopefully you guys can see my screen. I know my computer ain't been working well at all. I'm going to have to share that again because apparently I lost audio. Hold on. Let me share my screen again. All right. So I'm sure by now you guys heard about this. Hold on. Can you guys see my screen? Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, we can see the screen.
Yeah.
Oh, you can see it. You can see you can see what I'm sharing. Okay. All right, my computer is just doing crazy stuff. So this is from Camilla Report. The United States murdered 2 men from Trinidad and Tobago in yesterday's U.S. strike on a boat in the Caribbean Sea. It says during the fake anti-drug military operations against Venezuela. So we'll watch these videos, and after we've watched all the attachments, we'll comment on it.
2 men believed to be Trinbagonians were killed in the latest U.S. drone strike of Venezuelan waters. And now Las Cuevas family is demanding answers.
They say Chad Joseph wasn't a trafficker, just a young man trying to come home. Jensen Levent went to the fishing village to speak with the family.
Like most of the men gathered here at the Las Cuevas fishing depot, Chad Joseph was a fisherman. Both his relatives and residents are denying strenuously that he was involved in drug trafficking. They say his killing was unjust.
When Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar said the United States should kill alleged drug dealers violently, no citizen was listed among the dead. On the U.S.'s 5th airstrike, Trinidadians Chad Joseph and another man identified only as Samaru were among 6 people killed on Tuesday, taking the number of alleged narco traffickers killed by the U.S. since September 2nd to 27. Joseph's grandfather, Cornell Clement, who denied his grandson was a drug trafficker, says he has no choice but to trust in God. Now he questions the U.S.'s method of dealing with the situation.
I watch at it as wickedness. So why we killing people children for? They're not meant that way. They're supposed to be that way.
You say he was a drug trafficker, like he was.
No. The boy is no drug trafficker. It make them run and come back.
Joseph's grandmother, Christine, says her grandson was in Venezuela for the past 3 months and wanted desperately to return home, but his previous attempts failed.
Before time he was coming, they shoot up the boat. He ended up surviving on some little beach, and some people take time because I talked to him and I talked to one of the ladies too. And the second time I heard he come in, I get his mother 2 days ago I asked her. She told me he must come in and something with the boat again. So he go back.
A short distance away, residents of Las Cuevas village stopped one man expressed feels about Joseph's killing.
What the U.S. doing there? I think it's inhumane, right? If all they really, all right, all they blow the boat up, what evidence it have showing really is drugs, and stuff like that. Like we say, is guns, or even say is human trafficking, anything. You can. What is the closure the family having now?
Calls and messages to the Prime Minister and Defense Minister Wayne Sturge went unanswered. Months ago, Sturge said during a post-cabinet media briefing that any Trini fisherman caught doing illegal activity was on their own. Foreign Affairs Minister
All right, that might have got a little choppy at the end there, right? The next, the next attachment takes us to this tweet called Breakthrough News. It says over 300 additional U.S. Marines have arrived in Puerto Rico as part of Trump's growing militarization of the Caribbean and the waters near Venezuela. The buildup includes deployments of fighter jets, naval vessels, and large-scale military exercises in Puerto Rico. Trump continues to carry out extrajudicial bombings in the Caribbean high seas. He has authorized the CIA to conduct lethal operations in Venezuela, and the U.S. has even drawn up plans for potential strikes inside the country. This video is just a simple video, but I'll play it. It's really just showing U.S. Marines arriving in Puerto Rico or Royal Puerto Rico on 10/16/25. Just from this one boat, you can see the number of Marine equipment being toted on Puerto Rico. This problem comes with another clip. You guys should be able to see. It says Grenada witnessed a collective protest against U.S. military intervention in the Caribbean, South America. This came with this short clip. Sorry, I guess the clip has no sound. Didn't realize that. But you see, no to Caribbean invasion. This is in Grenada. It says stand up, sweet, sweet Grenada. Stand up against the robber, I think it said. So protests in Grenada, which was actually good to see as well, because if you remember, what was that, 81, Reagan invaded Grenada, which is in close proximity, relatively speaking, to Venezuela. Another clip that's shared from this prompt says protests outside U.S. Embassy in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. The Assembly of Caribbean People denounces extrajudicial killings at sea and rejects the United States' use of Caribbean countries as a military staging ground to attack Venezuela. This comes with a video as well. I know this one has sound. I guess the sound isn't playing. All right, hold on a second. This one is important, so let me send this one to Jack, see if Jack could play it for me on his end. Yeah, my browser lost sound. Jack, I just sent it to you in the private chat. Can you play that for us?
Yeah, stand by.
Yes, sir.
Today is that collective day of action, and I could report that there are people in Aruba, Barbados, Belize, Cuba, Curacao, Dominica, Grenada, Guadeloupe, Guyana, Haiti, Jamaica, Martinique, Puerto Rico, Republic of Dominica, Dominican Republic, St. Lucia, St. Martin, St. Vincent, Suriname, as well as us here in Trinidad and Tobago, who are doing something to make this collective call for the Caribbean to be a zone of peace. This declaration was a call to the people of the Caribbean that we must stand firm, that the Caribbean must remain a zone of peace, that there should be no U.S. intervention. We declare that the sovereignty of the nation states of our region is not and must not be up for sale, that regional unity and integration are crucial to our development and survival in the context of a changing global order, and therefore call on CARICOM heads of government to meet urgently on this emerging situation and to adopt a unified position against this unilateral military deployment by the U.S. We denounce the so-called creation by the US of an international coalition against narco trafficking, as it is the seed of an alliance of a minority of states in this hemisphere that will be used to create some cloak of legality under the OAS to intervene in Venezuela, as was attempted and failed through the so-called Lima Group. And we further call on these governments not to allow the US to use their countries as a military staging point to attack any sovereign state, and in this instance, Venezuela. We denounce the extrajudicial killings that the US claimed it carried out of 11, of course that now has gone up to more than 27, suspected narco traffickers, and insist that the stopping of the trafficking of drugs, humans and arms must be done through interdiction and the legal process, with the criminals tried in courts of law and convicted on the basis of evidence seized. And we deplore the statements made that they should, quote, all be killed violently, as contrary to the rule of law, and thus which could take us down a slippery slope of giving the state the license to kill arbitrarily. The designation by the US, without providing a shred of evidence that the president of Venezuela is the head of a narco trafficking gang, is part of the well-known operation to discredit and delegitimize a leader or country. The US has no moral authority to speak about narco trafficking when it was engaged in precisely such activity to finance the violent civil wars in El Salvador and Nicaragua in the 1980s that resulted in many tens of thousands of people being killed, among other well-documented activities. Nor does it have any moral authority to speak about peace when it is complicit in the genocide of Palestinians today and of many other crimes against humanity through the years. The sovereignty of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela must be respected, and that therefore we oppose any military intervention by the US or any other state in Venezuela.
All right. Shooter Breeze topic number 3, Trump's militarization of the Caribbean. When folks talk about fleeing the Caribbean and Africa and all these places, I really think people don't understand what they're referring to. But with that said, and by the way, thanks Jack and Dara for playing that video. Let me start off with Black Steel on this one. Black Steel, what say you?
Man. We are living in interesting times. We really are. So the United States wants to go to war with Venezuela, right? One thing about history, they say history does not repeat itself, but it does rhyme. And we're starting to see some of the United States has all the signs of a dying empire, right? And the United States itself is only 250 years old next year, right? So the United States is already showing the signs of collapse within on itself, right? So they want to go to war with Venezuela, and they're trying to provoke the Venezuelans into an attack, and that includes bombing their citizens, attacking shipping and boats or anything else like that, because they want to be able to claim to be the injured party. They claim to be going after drug traffickers, right? But I don't ever see them going after the big pharmaceutical companies that all these white people who are addicted to opioids have been dealing with. But they want to go after so-called narco terrorists in Venezuela, and it's all a part of the attack to start war with the Venezuela, because Venezuela has the world's second largest oil reserves after Saudi Arabia. So they want their oil, and they're going to go after their oil because the United States as a country is not doing well. The economy is falling apart, and what's happening is they want to manufacture consent. And the manufacturer consent by saying, "Oh, these people are smuggling drugs that are killing our citizens." That's the tale they want to tell. Now, how do we know these people are drug traffickers? Do they have evidence? Have we conducted a trial? No, Trump just says so. J.D. Vance just says so. So we kill them. And this is in clear violation of international law. But international law carries no weight. The United States is a rogue state. It is not bounded by any law. any treaty, any stipulation. They will do what they want as long as they have the power to do so. So I'm sorry about this Trinidadian man who lost his life. He probably was innocent, just like those Venezuelan fishermen were more than likely innocent. But they are trying to ramp up and preparing to go after Venezuela, just like they're planning on going after Cuba. So what happens, right, when an empire is in its dying throes, right? They start to go engage in military conflicts as a way of shoring up its borders, conquering more territory. That's why earlier Trump was talking about going after Greenland. He wants to annex Greenland from Canada, right? You heard that conversation. We see this in many of the historical empires, and sometimes they reach a little bit too far. Just like the Romans at the Battle of Adrianople, when the emperor got killed, they went to fight the barbarians, and it was a little bit too much, and they lost, and they collapsed on themselves. Or when the British tried to take the Suez Canal from the Egyptians, and they lost, and the British Empire started to fall apart after that. Whenever these empires are in their late stage, they go on these ridiculous military ventures. The Soviets in Afghanistan. I could go on and on and on if I wanted to, but this is just another sign that the U.S.'s days are numbered. Right? They don't know when it will collapse. I don't know if it's probably going to be tomorrow. It may not be next year, but within our lifetimes, I do see the hegemony of the United States collapsing. And then once the rest of the world abandons the petrodollar, they'll really be in the shit. So they want to secure as many oil prices as possible. They never think about this. Whenever they talk about narco terrorism and drug trafficking, they don't bomb Colombians because Colombia is a U.S. ally. They don't bomb Colombia. Yeah, they send a few. They talk tough with the cartels in Mexico. They don't really do nothing. Whenever they talk about, we're going to protect human rights and, we're going to protest against homosexuality. But one of the most dangerous places to be a gay is Saudi Arabia. You never hear them say anything negative about Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia is a U.S. ally, and Saudi Arabia has one of the worst human rights records, okay, in the world. But yet that vitriol is never directed towards the Saudis, because the Saudis, the Israelis, the Colombians are all U.S. allies. People got to be aware that they are trying to provoke a war with Venezuela. And that's it. The thing is, the Venezuelan people are armed. They have trained militias. So I believe that the United States will do what they always do, shock and awe from the air. I don't know how long they could sustain a land occupation. They weren't able to do so in Iraq. They weren't able to do so in Afghanistan. They weren't able to do so in Vietnam. So I kind of figure I know how this is going to turn out. It's not going to turn out well. I'll leave it there.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. Sobering. For sure. Jacadero, what say you to it?
What a nightmare of a situation. Very, very horrific situation to be a part of. The U.S.'s issue with Venezuela, it just doesn't start this year. It doesn't start last year. This has been years and years and decades and decades. And, from Hugo Chavez to currently Nicolas Maduro, and the U.S. has had an issue with Venezuela, and now they're using the Venezuela situation to target the Caribbean. One of the elders towards the end of the last clip, said that CARICOM needs to ask for or call upon an immediate meeting. For those that are unfamiliar, CARICOM is the governing body of the Caribbean islands. The current chair or the current leader of CARICOM is the Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness, but it was up until July of this year. It was coincidentally, ironically, it was Guyana's president. I got to give him his respect because I love saying his name, Dr. Muhammad Irfan Ali. I just love saying it because I feel like the Guyanese people, they have one of the coolest Caribbean accents. Buana, don't get offended, man. But I digress. The when he said that the CARICOM needs to get on top of this, CARICOM is the same political governing body that's allowing this Haiti situation to get to where it is. Again, I'm not a politician, but I feel like they can do a better job. CARICOM was one of the first groups after Kenya said that they will take hold of being the police in the island nation. And CARICOM said, yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll add in additional individuals. Bahamas said that they'll add in police officers. Suriname said that they'll add in police officers, and Guyana said that they will do the same. So it's just, what a horrific situation, because you would think that your governing body, the political party for the Caribbean, would have its best interest in this. And you never know. You have no idea. I hope Andrew Holness takes this matter seriously and looks up and realizes, just to give you guys an idea, Turks and Caicos in the Caribbean island, every single month they have guns being brought into the country. PBS did a recent study. Yes, the PBS that plays those kids shows. They did a recent study back in 2024, and they found that 90% of the murders that go on in Turks and Caicos were linked to gang conflicts and illegal firearms. And a majority of those illegal firearms were brought in from the United States. Again, this is key. If that individual pan multicultural, whatever his name was, if he thinks for a second that U.S. involvement is not as big as a factor as maybe we like to say, or we're being victims, Turks and Caicos, who a lot of individuals in the West consider honeymoon destinations, has such a violent crime epidemic. And a direct link to that is the United States. Again, monthly, the customs agents of the Royal Police Force of Turks and Caicos is stopping visitors from the United States from bringing guns and ammunition into the country. The Caribbean is such a complex issue that, again, it's because of the United States directly. Koku had brought up, Grenada being invaded. This is a thing that current Prime Minister, I think his name is Dickon Mitchell, I believe. Yeah. He was and still is a great student of Maurice Bishop. I really like Dickon Mitchell, and I'm sure that, he has a big headache on his hands, because you have a situation where you're in CARICOM, which Guyana's in CARICOM. Venezuela is not part of CARICOM. So you got to almost have the side of Guyana. But then you also know that the U.S. is trying to do everything that they can to have hegemony, aka just top leadership in the Caribbean. And so they're going to war with Venezuela. And you, as Grenada, you have no issue with Venezuela. As a matter of fact, you're like, why should I have an issue? But, they're forcing Dickon Mitchell's hand. What a nightmare of a situation for the Caribbean. Again, multiculturalism or pansexual, whatever it is that you call yourself, pay attention to this. This is not something that you should be saying, Black immigrants are just saying these things to get to our country. And again, I'm moving Mr. Pan culturalism, so I don't have my books currently with me, but one of the figures that you said, African Americans en masse are not leaving, they didn't leave at any given point to other countries. If I can remember right, Liberia during the time of Abraham Lincoln, African Americans left to Liberia. I believe the number was like 35,000 in like a 4 to 5 year period, 35,000. So whatever en masse means for you, I would like to think that 30,000 plus is a mass number, but I digress. What a nightmare of a situation. And again, Trump's military, tried to start a war with Venezuela, and having the Caribbean get involved. Somebody's family member was literally blown up. And one last thing, because of what just happened with that family member getting blown up, again, they were either fishing or whatever, just minding their own business. The head of the U.S.'s Caribbean Navy or Caribbean military, that guy stepped down, I think 2 days ago. and usually that's like a 3-year position. That guy, and it's a brother, by the way, guys. That guy stepped down, and Pete Hegseth, the current Secretary of War for the United States, didn't say anything. It was almost as if he wanted this to happen. Again, for those that are listening and have opposing ideologies of Pan-Africanists, just know that the U.S.'s intervention into other people's issues, it causes so much of a grief to the rest of the world, and thus you're getting those immigrants in your country. So for you to say, why aren't you going back to your country? Turks and Caicos on the daily have guns and ammunition brought into the country from you guys. I digress.
Yeah, that's why, and I appreciate that. That's why when I heard the snarky remark of, like, you guys claim, ain't no claim, my boy. It's happening right now in front of us. With that said, I see Cheryl drop. So let me go to Buana. Buana, you've heard everything everyone else had to say. What say you to all of it?
Coco, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hear
sir.
me? Okay, so it's a lot of things on the table right now, a whole lot of things. So I could try to start with where all the brothers' perspectives are. So the brother talk, Jacadero mentioned Turks and Caicos. So Turks and Caicos is an interesting island. We call that like a family island of the Bahamas. And you mentioned all the guns that's coming in. There was a prime minister of Turks and Caicos. His name is Michael Missick. When Michael Missick was running that territory as an independent country, he was trying to break away from British rule. The economy of Turks and Caicos was clicking. I mean, really and truly, it was turning over money, hand and fist. The problems that Turks and Caicos currently have, they didn't have that when Michael Missick was in office, because a lot of investment was coming into that country based on him being in power. Then he got married to Lisa Ray, the lady from the Players Club, the actress, and it all fell to shit. So the British went back and took back over that territory. All of a sudden, guns coming into Turks and Caicos. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. So then we mentioned, what we mentioned? What's the next country? Let's deal with Venezuela. Okay, so Venezuela is an interesting place. Off the coast of Guyana, very close, have a good relationship. But Venezuela has oil, as Black Steel mentioned before. And the leader of the United States right now is a gangster. What do gangsters do? Gangsters gangster other people's stuff. So Donald Trump currently right now is an extremely unpopular president. Very unpopular among certain people, not everyone. But he's an unpopular president. What brings people together? When you win wars. Now, Venezuela is a soft target, of course, and it's unfortunate that he is going to displace Maduro in Venezuela. He's going to get rid of him because he has the power to do that, the finances and the power to do that. But when he does that, what's going to happen is it's going to create a narrative, because it's going to destabilize not only Venezuela, but other countries around Venezuela in South America. When he also does that, you're going to cause a lot of the South American countries to come together more than they have before, against the United States, incursion into other people's business. And that's going to create massive kind of instability. And it's going to touch the United States, whether they want to admit that or not, because of the proximity. So there are going to be a whole lot of unintended consequences because of this person who only believes in his own ego. Is going to create a narrative that is going to have massive unintended consequences. You think that immigrants are in your country right now? Wait until they destabilize Maduro. Then you got really have a problem on your hands, Mr. Pan Mulattoism, who have a problem with immigrants, even though America is a country of immigrants. Needless to say. Also, Guyana, which is very close to Trinidad and Tobago, has oil as well. So you don't only want Venezuelan oil, you really want oil in that territory. It's what they call I forget what the term is right now, but the white man's burden. It's a proper term, but the United States think the Caribbean and South America
Manifest
is their
destiny.
manifest destiny. That's what it is. So the Caribbean and South America is the backyard of America, and in the backyard you are able to pilfer and take all the fruits and vegetables, all the things that you believe is yours, out of the backyard and bring it into your house. This is historically what's been done. Historically, what's been done. But even though you have the ability to conquer lands, you may not have the ability to maintain the lands that you conquer over. So even though you may kill Maduro and put in one of your puppet uh, premiers or prime ministers of that nation, the people have to get behind him. Right now, the people are behind Maduro, what you want to or not. So even if you put a person who you want to in charge of Venezuela, that leadership is going to be short lived. It's the same scenario of Haiti. When they put Haitian puppet leaders in there, what do the Haitian people do? They get them out of the paint, and you could destabilize that economy as well. And then you have Haitians showing up at inside your borders, and you get vexed at that scenario. But you created that scenario. You created that scenario, and then the people who don't know better, the rank and file Americans, some Americans who don't understand American politics, say, "Well, why are all these people flooded in here?" Well, you kill their economy, and you take all their economy back to the United States. They come in search of their economy back. They want their markets back. But if you take the economy and you put it into America, the Caribbean people and the Venezuelan or South American people say, "Well, you have stolen our economy. What do we do next?" Of course, we come in looking for our economy. And the people here, or the people in the United States who don't know, say, "Well, why are y'all showing up on our borders? We don't want y'all here because y'all don't understand international politics and how that works." But when they elect gangsters, this is what gangsters do. This is what gangsters do, and everybody upset about it. So don't elect gangsters to lead your nation, and maybe these things can't happen. But it's unfortunate. I feel sorry for the Trinidadian brothers who got unalive. This is an unfortunate situation. It's unfortunate what's going to eventually happen and the direction we're going in right now. I don't. I really have to throw up my hands because I don't have an answer for it. And if I say what the real solution is, they're gonna ban Koku channel. They'll ban, and I don't want that to happen. So me personally, I would just leave it there, just to be. I want to err on the side of safety because I want this channel to continue. I'll leave it there.
I appreciate that, Buana. Just for Afro Native World, uh, the Turks and Caicos, we call them Turks Islanders, and the history of them is interesting. They used to be under the Bahamas, and then they went under Jamaica. No, they used to be under. Let me see. They was under Jamaica. Jamaica went for independence. They was under us. We went for independence. They went back to the crown. But if you ever go or look into the Turks Islanders, you'll realize a lot of their heroes are Bahamian heroes, like Frank Rutherford and all them. They have them up in schools and stuff. Our flag is prevalent in their country, so they're basically like Bahamians. Like Buana said, we consider them like the family islands of the Bahamas. Um, I appreciate that, Buana. Buana said some things that's going to lead me to have a comment at the end here. But first, Sister Cheryl came back. Let's hear from her. Sister Cheryl, Trump's militarization of the Caribbean. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, okay, so I hate to be like petty, but like Trump's militarization of the Caribbean, it just I, I, I don't know, because maybe this is just a learning point for me. What has Trump done that CARICOM under any other president has not done? You see what I'm saying? It's like it's almost like we're trying to create a good white person versus a bad white person when they're all in the same category. Like I don't know. It just feels like everyone, it's like when Trump gets in office, oh, all these awful things happen, when all these awful things were happening the whole time. You know what I mean? That's kind of it, because like this stuff isn't new. All this stuff that's going on in Venezuela and the Caribbean and all that isn't new. CARICOM has been around. But the reason I say that to say, and just switching gears a little bit, um, Ghana has a U.S. military base. It's not a permanent U.S. military base, but it is, in fact, in Ghana. And from what I was looking up, it's fairly new. It came under, what was the guy's name? Ado, the president in 2018. I think I would be more concerned about that because that's something that's kind of brand new, and I think that's very, because I mean prior to 2018, Ghana didn't have any U.S. military base, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Maybe I'm changing the subject a little too much. I just Southcom and CARICOM have always been a thing. I think for us, but Ghana is like major, even though it's not a permanent military base. That's kind of scary to me. But I don't know.
Appreciate that, Sister Cheryl. I just want to say that things have happened in the Caribbean, but this is a little bit different. You have a standing army in the midst of the Caribbean. But I want to shout out Brother Bakari and shout out Kofi. I hope now we as a collective of black folks will learn to kick the white dick out of our mouth sometimes. And I say that in that harsh way because I really hope we get it from now on. So in the recent election, we spent a lot of time arguing about if Kamala Harris is black, this, that, and the other. Meanwhile, the other person who we know is white man at that, who has a racist history when you go back to the Central Park Five, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Throughout the years, even ran on a kind of ran on a racist program of "Make America Great Again" and all the rhetoric that went on, and we still found time. Not me personally, but those of us around found time to argue if Kamala Harris is black and therefore if she's worthy to be, to get your vote. So this guy comes into power, and as Buana labels him, gangsters do what gangsters do. But we had the opportunity for this fucking gangster not to be in power. We talked all kind of things about how he can't do this, how he can't do that. Look, he's doing every damn thing he feels to do. Whether his approval rating is high or low, he's doing what he feels to do. He just let this guy out of jail yesterday. I can't think of the guy's name right now. Santos. He
George
let him out of jail
Santos.
right? Yes, sir. George Santos. He let him out of jail yesterday, right? KW don't say Crouch Grab is doing everything right. Not when there's warships throughout the Caribbean. And if you fuck with Venezuela, that means you're gonna fuck with Guyana next. Trinidad has oil too, by the way. Right? By the way, we have oil too, by the way. Right? Like, what's gonna happen when this guy lays waste potentially to major parts, if not the entire part of the Caribbean? And more importantly, what's gonna happen in the future when we fuck around and we let the next Trump, quote unquote Trump, take power? The one who's going to go that much more further than this guy currently went. We got to start to think, man, We gotta start this thing. The white man is our enemy. We should never, 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 right, be voting for this white man. The only time when we're supposed to be voting for a white man, that's the unfortunate time in America, where they make us have to choose between the lesser of two evils, as they call it. Then that's when the conundrum starts. We gotta vote for some white guy. Let's vote for the lesser of the two evils. But this guy, Trump, we knew, he told us what he was going to do before he came into power. He ran on bullshit like Haitians eating cats somewhere here in the state. Like, why the fuck would you side with this guy? Whether Kamala was black, gray, green, it didn't matter. She wasn't threatening this type of shit, harm against black people. And now here we are, our little Caribbean spot here now. It could potentially be in some turmoil here, because here's the thing about invaders. Once they come, they don't ever really leave you. If you ain't got the power to get them up out of there, right? So here we are now. We could have fishermen in some waters fishing. These fuckers will bomb them out the water, kill them. We could have avoided this shit with our vote. Instead, we sat up here arguing about what he can and can't do, arguing about who's black and who ain't black. Come on, I hope we learn the fucking lesson from this now.
Koku, I disagree with you though, Koku.
Go ahead.
So it's not black people's fault that Trump is in office. It is not black people's fault that Trump is in office. It is the white European majority in the United States that put this man back in office. Black people voted overwhelmingly for Kamala Harris. Yes, there were some outliers. There were some very vocal minorities, but for the overwhelming majority of black people voted for Kamala Harris. We did not want this to happen, and we do not hold the responsibility for putting this demon back in office after he already tried to overthrow the U.S. government back on January 6th. We didn't do this. So that's
Black Suit. You're not wrong, and I'm not gonna disagree with you. I will say though that there, like you said, there was a vocal minority, right, that probably caused people to vote the couch, right? There was those folks who said, what can Trump do that hasn't already been done, right? There were those people that, you know what? And by the way, when I say we, I'm also talking about some of these Hispanic fuckers too, these Latinos and Latinas too, by the way. I will vote for Donald Trump. Yeah, this is what the fuckers doing now in Venezuela, right? So we gotta, but you see, I understand why they went with Trump, because he didn't threaten them. He didn't threaten time, right? He threatened us openly. And I just would hope that in the future, we won't sit back, even though we may have voted in high numbers. I hope we wouldn't sit back and sit up here on the internet and all that talking about, well, so and such ain't really black. It doesn't even matter. She's not a white supremacist. That's the real point I'm getting at. You see? I think Kofi joined us actually, right? Kofi, how are you doing this week?
Doing good. Yeah. The first time I've heard of this, and it's happening over Venezuela, and I'm glad you said that. Venezuela is, for those who don't know, Venezuela and Guyana share a border, and I think it was Afro Native World saying he asked me something in the chat here. So I'll find it because I do want to answer him. He says, "Are the Guyanese supporting neighbor Venezuela on this issue? I know there's been a land dispute in the past. Nah, they don't. We don't care. We want our land back." So the west of Guyana and the east of Venezuela. So when I read where Guyana was getting their independence, and Venezuela knew they were getting their independence, and you know it was turmoil. Venezuela took a lot of the west of Guyana, and we got like a island island off the coast of Guyana, and they just took all of it. So when everything was like over and done, they took the land. But Venezuela, I speak to certain Venezuelans from Venezuela, swear to God, like, no, you guys have the rest of our land. I'm like, what? So yeah, there is a dispute. We don't care. If Venezuela was to fall right now, I'm a Guyanese. I'll be happy for it, but I don't care either way. I kind of just want the land back that they took from us during independence. But you did say something very, very crucial that is very, very important. Thank you for that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not you necessarily, because you were never on the is Kamala Harris black train or whatever. But there's a lot of when we're wrong about things, people like to pretend that they never said it. You know, people try to play cleanup or pretend that they never said those things. So yeah, all these things come to fruition because this man has said he's going to do that. Now, with that being said, you also said something was very important, like he's in international waters, quote unquote, waging war. He doesn't have an act from Congress. If you're going to go in international waters and say, well, I'm doing this, you need an act of Congress in order for you to do that. I don't understand this so-called American system where everyone knows that he's blatantly breaking the law and no one does anything. What's the use of the law then? You know what I'm saying? It's no different when, well, I mean, he did that too. Same thing in when he was going to Iran, about to bomb Iran a couple of months ago. Oh yeah, I'm going to bomb Iran. Okay, this is 9/11.2.0 again. Like, you just can't go bomb Iran without without permission from Congress. You know, so he's in international waters. He bombed a quote unquote drug cartel ship. It wasn't even a ship. It was like a fishing boat, speedboat or something. And a couple of days ago, I heard that they went same waters and bombed a submarine, right? And it was 4 people on the submarine or something like that. So 2 died, 2 survived, and they have those 2 survivors in custody right now. Are they going to disappear these people? Are they going to put them in Guantanamo Bay? There's international rules and laws, rules of engagement when you conduct this type of activity in international law. So already this is a lawsuit. So I do commend and I'm glad that the Carib people of the Caribbean and Antilles, they're coming together saying, look, you are international waters. We ain't got nothing to do with what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? I think they need to go to the UN. All the representatives of all their respective countries in the UN need to come together and push the United States and be like, you are breaking international law. And Guyana might be next, but Ali has a pretty good, relationship with United States last time I heard. But when that speech that he did in the UN a while ago, he was, it was a good speech. He shout out to some African countries and African nations, saying he's an Indian coolie, he's a coolie boy and everything, but that's a very smart man. He's a very smart man, and I respect him because he gives a lot of respect to Black African people in Guyana, right? But I'm saying that to say that he's probably not going to be in Trump's good graces because, like many other people from Bahamas, Barbados, and they gave their speeches there at the UN, they were talking about the war crimes the United States has been engaged. So they don't like that, but I think with most of the world leaders in solidarity about what's going on there in Palestine, I hope the rest of the world will be with the Caribbean people, from Latin America. I hope we get Spain on our side, we get England on our side, Portugal on our side, aka Brazil or whatever, to just be like, hey, look, and just push back on what's going on. So I'm glad that our people are nipping this in the bud to say, hey, look, you cannot do this. You are breaking international law. But I just hope I just hope that what they're doing in these efforts will bear some good news and some form of resistance in some way, but only time will tell. That's pretty much it.
Kofi, let me say this though, man. I appreciate your commentary. If the line couldn't be drawn at genocide, then it's not going to be drawn at violent international law or democracy or anything, right? So one of the, Kofi mentioned about, people who chose to sit home in the election. One of the major number 1 issues for Democratic voters was United States support for Israel. And it showed that Kamala Harris could have picked up at least 3 swing states had she come out with a strong campaign against supporting Israel and supplying them weapons, and they chose not to. This was the Democrats' election to lose. And I want to, because today, I went to the protest, right? Today. Everybody's focused on Trump, Trump, Trump. It is not only Trump. I want that to be clear. The Republicans control all three branches of government: the executive, the legislative, and the judicial, right? So whatever he does, the checks and balances, quote unquote, that were in place to limit the power of the president, there's no more checks and balances no more. All right. Everything that was created by the so-called framers of the Constitution that was to limit the power of the executive branch, judicial branch, all the other branches, it's not there anymore. It's no longer there. So he's definitely in violation of international law. He's definitely in violation of U.S. law. Extrajudicial murder in international waters. For any other president, this would be a scandal, right? But we're living in a different time. We're living in the Renaissance, in a white supremacist Renaissance, right? The likes of which we haven't seen since the end of Jim Crow. And the gloves are off. There's no more decorum. It's I'm white and I say so now. And I think we have to learn to how do we adjust? How do we combat this in our new reality? Right? Because we're not in the reality of where we can appeal to the international community, United Nations. That would have worked in Gaza, and it didn't. International community, they spoke up, they tried to put sanctions, and everything got blown away. So now, how do we reconfigure and how do we deal with this new reality that we're faced with? I don't have the answers, but I would love to hear some people what they say.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what the answer is, but there is no answer because we're a superpower. I think what you're saying, Black Steel. Thank you. You're 100% correct. If a bunch of people being genocided over there is happening, no one's really gonna care about a quote unquote potential, crimes against people of the Caribbean and South America. I totally get that. I think what we need to do is pretty much, when I say appeal to, other nations, in hopes, we're no world leaders here, in hopes if we ally ourselves with, because, they hate Donald Trump, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? If you ally yourself with these particular people, they're not just going against Bahamas, and not Jamaica, Guyana, Antigua, St. Lucia, Grenada, whatever. They're going against a whole global community, which was the purpose of the UN in the first place. Everyone on one accord on one thing, respecting international law. So that's what I'm kind of hoping. I mean, Trump said he was going to invade Panama. He kind of let go on that. He's going to invade Greenland. He's going to invade Switzerland. And I'm thinking, yeah, he wants to do that. He keeps saying that. I haven't heard him say it in a long while because why? There's a lot of European pushback on that. So I think unfortunately, we're going to have to rely on the international community when it comes to that because, hey, the enemy is my friend.
Have you heard of the Hague Invasion Act, Kofi?
It sounds familiar, but I'm not too.
So this is around Bush 2, right? George W. Bush, around the Iraq War. So the Hague is where the International Criminal Court is located. So he set up to where no U.S. serviceman could be indicted by the International Criminal Court. And if a U.S. serviceman is captured by the International Criminal Court, they would go through any means necessary to secure their release. Basically, they're saying if a U.S. serviceman is committing war crimes and he is brought before the International Tribunal for committing war crimes, we will invade the fucking Netherlands, The Hague, where the World Court is located. They're willing to go to war with the world to prevent American soldiers from being held accountable for committing war crimes. And this was back during George W. Bush, who was a lot nicer and less openly racist. I'm not saying he wasn't racist, who wasn't as openly racist as DJT. So look what happened. Look at the uncharted waters we're in right now, to where George W. Bush is looking like a better statesman than Donald Trump. We're in the world of the surreal at this point.
My question always is, because I'm not a law professor. I want to know what mechanisms are in place, and I think second time around, I guess they made sure of that. What mechanisms are in place that if the Trump disobeys any
Can I
federal
say something?
what happens? And I know it's like, oh, his own party will have to see if he committed crimes, but yeah, it's your own party. Like there should be some other mechanism or system that I don't know, because what's the rule of having laws is not enforced? Is basically what I'm saying.
Just to add something quickly. When I was talking about the voting thing, KW7 mentioned it would have to be 100% vote. You know what? Then let it be 100%. But my point is, at least if Trump had won, still, at least we would have been on the same mindset of, you know what, this guy is a danger. But because we're all mixed up about whether he's a danger or not, that's problematic for us, and that plays into how we can come together against this force. And again, like you guys, I don't have the answer. I don't know how we come together against this force, which is why you don't want this kind of force and power to begin with. If you can help it, don't let these type of madmen have the reins until we could work out our problems. Because someone mentioned to me in the chat, I can't remember who it was now. We got to work. We have to grow some balls and stamp against our bully. Absolutely, we ain't there right now. Militarily, we can't stamp against the bully. So we have to coast and build ourselves up until we can stand up against this bully. And so we don't want the bully to have ships all throughout the Caribbean ready to attack Venezuela. Who knows if Guyana's next? Trinidad could be after. We don't know. That's the point I'm trying to make, just to be clear. I Can Fire is here. I Can Fire, how are you this week? And don't blame black women for this, by the way. I Can Fire, how are you?
Respect my host. Respect. Hey, look, man. I have the answer. And the answer have always been the answer. You feel me? I make a criticism first. We bootlicking black people is getting what we work for. Like we planted seeds that is growing right now. Most of the Caribbean don't like Rasta, don't like the words of Rastafari, nor the look of Rastafari. Right now, Africa is giving an eye on the Caribbean and black people, mostly because of Rasta. What I'm saying is, white people don't respect anything but money, not even their lives. We need to hit them where it hurts. That's the only way you can temper white people. We have been doing shit wrong. We have been doing stuff wrong. The Caribbean should already be a part of the African Union. But the Caribbean itself, including stupid Jamaicans, are rejecting Africa and have been rejecting Africa. You feel me? Jamaica itself had a place in the African Union through Haile Selassie and denied the position. What I'm trying to say is United States wants a lot of deals in Africa. They want a lot of raw materials. They want to progress their shit, to make more weapons, to kill us. That's our leverage. That is our leverage. We by hating on Africans and disrespecting our color and our hair makes it that cause a rift between Africans and us in the West, and it slows down progress. You feel me? And what happened is Africans are making deals without our consideration, without without us in their consideration. You feel me? We are the cause of that. We are the cause of that because we need to it's our raw material. It's our Africa. It's our Africa. You need to own it. Africans can't tell you Africans. You have to own Africa. You feel me? And the Arabs over there owning Africa. The Africans even stupidly saying they are Africans. The white man down in South Africa, he claimed goddamn Africa. And some Africans are even saying they are. Nobody can tell who is African. So we black people know that we black come from Africa. We need to demand Africa. And Africa will respect us for demanding our place in Africa. And when they are doing, and we need to display ourselves in a way that when they are doing business with whoever, we have already told them that these people are trying to destroy us. And so Africans could do like this. If you try to hurt anybody in Grenada, Bahamas, Barbados, any Black America, any one of them, you can't do business with us. And we will sabotage any American business in Africa. We will travel east, west, north, south, and make sure you can't get nothing in Africa. And that's how we can be safe in the Caribbean, in America's backyard. Thank you. All we need to do is get off the high horse. Sorry, go ahead.
Koku,
That's very smart.
Koku, I just wanted to address something you said about defending themselves. If a bunch of illiterate goat herders in Afghanistan, Iraq can defend themselves successfully, if a bunch of starving rice farmers in Vietnam can defend themselves, if a former slave like in the Haitian Revolution are able to defend themselves, we can defend ourselves too. But it's not a matter of skill; it's a matter of will. So the economic things that Icon Fire was mentioning, those would all be well and good in a sane world. But we're in an insane world at this point. We're in a world where the president of the United States is talking about invading his own allies. You know, you think they care about economic boycott? They just bomb you from the air and take whatever's left from your dead bodies, and there's no international community.
Yeah, well, let me reason with you in this manner, right? Let me reason with you in this manner. We know we are dealing with a superpower that considered itself as the superest power, right? We know that. It is never safe. It is never an option for us as ordinary black people, formerly slaves, to go up in arms against these people. They would enjoy that. But what I'm trying to say to you is soft power is the ultimate power. You feel me? They cannot make weapons without cobalt, coltan, all these rare earth minerals. They cannot make weapons without it. So what I'm trying to say is Africa is the only place that can develop itself enough to withstand any country in the world, any continent in the world. That's our only option as black people. You have to consider that. Don't talk about we need to get you first of all, if any one of us in the Caribbean try to be friends with like the likes of Russia, you feel me? Before anything start coming to you, you start getting destroyed. You feel me? Because they even know flight routines and all that. Anybody goes anywhere in Russia and from the Caribbean, they fucking know. You understand? So it's like we have to understand who we're dealing with. We need to deal with Africa. That's it. We need to get Africa to sabotage them in our defense. That is it. I don't see no other way. There is no way you gonna turn Jamaica into a Vietnam and all that. You feel me? The Haitians need so much security right now. Only Africa can secure us, bro. Same with Black Americans. Only Africa can keep it safe. Just because Africa is the wealth of the world. That's the only way we can withstand it. America is like a wounded bear now. They they like a wounded bear. You can't like face them. You feel me? When the bear is wounded, you stuck them when they wounded and you didn't kill him. You just rear it. That's what America now. They bleeding out. You feel me? So you have to be careful. You only can deal with them on this level, where African leaders, where we as Caribbean people, selfish little bitches that is on some goddamn high horses. We have to go deal with our African people. We need to go in their meetings. We need to be there all the time. That type of stuff. You feel me? How come there is no? We as Caribbean, we running all type of cruise ship running through the Caribbean, and we can't come. We haven't come together yet and bought a ship. About a cruise ship and have our own cruise ship. I mean, look how much islands, look how much billions running through it's selfishness and stupidity, and people living in luxury thinking that America is not going to come for you. That's what it is. And we get caught disrespecting Africa, keeping Africa poor, and withholding our education, our Western technology from Africa over the years. That's what we've been doing. You feel me? No, we don't have a ship lane to Ghana and Western Africa. How? Why we ain't have a ship? Like the CARICOM can just say all islands put together and we buy a cruise ship. $4 billion. Huh? A $4 billion cruise ship. We can't afford that. You feel me? And cruise our people on the African shores and get money for it and have real transfer. And so we can. Why we don't have gold mining? Why a Caribbean country don't have? Because we don't want to. Christianity has damaged us so much. We don't even want to be rich. We want white people to be richer than us. The gold is right there on Ghana coast, and none of us have a gold mine in Ghana. We have, hold on, the Christians have each other grabbing gold chains over here. We kings, people who own countries of gold, they have us over here grabbing chains and chopping off each other's hand for gold. Huh? Can you imagine that? And just because we don't like our color and we are ashamed of our Africa, that's why it come to this, where we don't even have no defense. First of all, none of us is considering Africa as a defense. We are considering to go find some type of European or China and Russia. But of course, China can do something. But China not gonna fight. We not there. We not fighting people right now. You feel me? We can. You feel me? But I don't think we're supposed to go that way. I don't think we're supposed to go that way for people to pick us off and shit. You feel me? I think we should go the way we go and integrate in Africa and teach Africans and learn from Africans and grow Africa. You feel me? That's how we can do it. We can't do it no other way. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's,
so
I mean, what I can saying is not wrong, but again, we not there, and I don't know how long it's going to take us to get there. And a part of getting there is to have the understanding that this white man is our enemy. We got to come together against this white man. So we got to do what we got to do amongst each other to defend ourselves against this white man. That's exactly what's being discussed, even politically. The way you vote in your home countries in the Caribbean, the way you vote in America, it has to be towards the understanding that that's my enemy over here. I gotta play this little political game until I could build myself up, until we can build Africa up to be that super power, that super continent that protects all of us. But that's a ways off. We got to play the game in the meantime. Buana, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
yeah, so I just want to mention some new developments that's happening in the Caribbean and Africa, because some of the brothers may not be know or be unaware. So the Grenadian Prime Minister right now is engaged in talks with Ghana. He's looking at the scientific industry inside Ghana to create greater links. It was all over the papers, well, in the Caribbean and in Africa, I guess. But look up Grenada and also Antigua. Antigua is another territory where the prime minister was establishing greater relationships in terms of business dealings and things like that. And Prime Minister Mia Mottley from Barbados. So these things are happening in between the Caribbean and Africa. Now, when it comes to development, the development is slow. I understand because 90% of the Caribbean are African people. So these things should be self-evident. You're supposed to been doing having these kinds of relationships with African territory. I understand that. But at least, I mean, you gotta start somewhere. I mean, I might be a cheap way out, but you gotta start somewhere.
You're right, Guana. And host, excuse me here. You're right. I forgotten the good part. You feel me? Of course, the Caribbean is moving, especially the Eastern Caribbean is moving towards Africa, and a lot of things is happening. Because Miss Mir Motley went to the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam opening, so she was mingling with all the heads. She's always mingling with the heads of Africa, and that's what disappoint me with the rest of the bourgeoisie Caribbean people. Like they don't want to be there. They have a choice, but they don't take these choices. You understand? Go ahead, Garner.
Yeah, so I understand. I listen, man. Listen, the problem when Icon Fire say, when Icon Fire say, if Africa was to decide to say if you harm the Caribbean, then our contracts can be rendered null and void. That is very smart, by the way. That's very smart and very clever. But I also see Black Steel voice in the back of my head too, because Black Steel voice saying a gangster don't care about contract. A gangster can just pull a gun and you can take your shit. If you say if you say yo, oh, we're gonna do this by the Lord, we're gonna do nah, the gangster can just pull up on your territory and take it from you. Needless to say, needless to say, I'll say this. The other alternative option on the table too is if other countries decide to leave the American dollar and go back to either natural resources or the gold reserve. That going see then I gonna create a real situation. I can create a real situation in the world. I don't know if because Gaddafi was trying to actually do that, and you see what happened to him. But I say that you gotta have some balls in the world. If this gangster acting like a gangster, you gotta pull up your socks and act like a gangster too. Really and truly. So if you come off the US currency and go to the gold or go to the natural resources, that could put the American dollar into a tailspin. Needless to say. Needless to say, I see that yes, developments are happening. They're happening slower, and I would agree with Icon Fire when he say that these things should already be happening. They should been happening. Be happening where you have relationships and engagement with Africa. But at least something happening. Icon Fire, man, something happening. But I understand where you're coming from,
Yeah,
though. I
even Afrozim Bank is in Barbados. That's a champion move. I first I listen. That's a paramount move because that is financial assets from Africa to the Caribbean and back. So that's great. I'm just saying it, as I said, we are not we are not socially and intimately involved with Africa enough. So we stay in their memory during contracts. Or we stay in their memory. We are so much in their thoughts and in their memories that what's going on in between between Grenada and the United States right now, Africa should be saying something already about it. You feel me? I'm just that's the what I'm trying to get to. We we should have, because we are a colonized people. You feel me? It's Rasta alone in the Caribbean is not colonized. That's why I don't totally blame my people because they innocent. They kind of being fooled, but it's the cockiness that's going on, and especially I don't want to mention those people, but as I'm trying to say to you is they are colonized people, and we have a duty to decolonize ourselves and decolonize the African. You feel me? We have to get black love. We have to get black love, black patriotism, black privilege in Africa. We have to give it to ourselves in the Caribbean, and we have to get it to Africa, because a lot of us don't understand what colonization is. Colonization is getting a set of people to be bad mind, to be envious, to be hateful, to be all of these wicked things. That's what a colonized people really is. Everything against what what they are, what we are. That's how I understand this colonization we under. Everything that is praise the white man and don't praise the black man. That means you can disregard his life. You can if he's dead, you can disregard it. You can slight it. And that's how we think, and we need to, as I told you, that a lot of people looking at Rasta from the outside and not looking to, we need to do love with each other, because that's what gonna maintain peace and guarantee our um the ultimate love and the ultimate self-defense. You feel me? And we need to teach it to Africa. We need to bring it to Africa, where Africa look at the black skin and recognize the black skin, and cherish the black skin and the hair. You feel me? All these things is essential towards economics. If people don't understand, these things are essential. You feel me? Look at most of the people who not colonized. They all do business with each other. So that's what we need to reclaim. We need to reclaim the love for each other and wanting each other to get rich, wanting to see each other in classy positions without being jealous. All these things we need to do. You feel me? And that's the only way we can get Africa.
You're filibustering now. We get it, brother. We get it. We get it. The point is that we're not there yet, but that's what we need to get to. We get it, brother. We get it. All right. There's other things I want to do before the time runs out. All right. Did everyone speak on that topic just now? I'm gonna take that as a yes. Let's go to the last topic of the night, which is more about Trump again. You can hang around and help discuss this topic as well. Should read topic number 4 says the secret to Donald Trump's success. For some reason, I'll call it the secret to Donald Trump's success. This comes with a video. Let me copy the link just in case it don't work well on my end. Try share my screen. So we're talking about Trump. We're talking about the madness that's coming along with it. Let's watch a few minutes of this video, and then we'll discuss it.
All right. So let me conclude now by talking about these great figures that have emerged. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the class, without Robespierre, Napoleon would not have been possible. All right. So this chart shows us how. You compare Robespierre and Napoleon. Robespierre obtained his power through virtue and dedication. He worked 18 hours a day. He was completely dedicated to the revolution. He had no girlfriend. He had no money. He was not being paid for his work. All he was doing was to ensure the revolution would succeed. And because of his dedication and virtue, the revolution was saved and it succeeded. Okay? So without Robespierre, the French Revolution would not have been possible. He was a prophet of reason. He believed that everyone had the capacity to reason. So if you present a logical argument, people would understand it. Okay? And that was both the source of his virtue, but it was also the source of his downfall, because he could not imagine that his friends would conspire against him because they wanted to protect their own self-interest. Okay? And the third thing about Robespierre that's important is he saved the French Revolution. Now let's compare him with Napoleon, okay, who's the complete opposite. Napoleon got to where he was because of political maneuvering. He was able to identify political patrons early in his career, and he did whatever they asked of him. And then together, they launched a coup d'etat against the French Republic. And after the coup d'etat succeeded, he betrayed his political allies. And he amassed power for himself. That's how he became emperor, okay? So Napoleon, he's a great politician. We think of him as a general, but he's really a politician. The thing about Napoleon that made him so successful is his myth-making genius. He understood that people are looking for myths, and he knew how to present himself as a mythic figure, like the Messiah, okay? And as a result, he destroyed the French Republic. Now, what's interesting is that if you look at human history, figures like Napoleon appear always at the end of a republic, okay? So Napoleon killed the French Republic, but they have Julius Caesar, who is of the same personality, okay? Julius Caesar was able to identify political patrons very early on and outmaneuver them as they amassed power. Julius Caesar was focused on creating a myth of himself as this unbeatable general. And as a result, he destroyed the Roman Republic. Later on, we will study Hitler. Guess what, guys? Hitler follows the same pattern. All right? Hitler was able to amass power because he outmaneuvered his political patrons and allies. We will study this, okay? Remember, the Nazis did not come out of nowhere. The Nazis were a force incubated by the German army in order to destroy the communist movement. Okay? And Hitler took advantage of this. Hitler got to where he was because he created a myth of himself as a savior of the German people. Right? And then he destroyed the Roman Republic. Okay? Why is this important? Because it's entirely possible we are living at another inflection point in history where the American Republic may be destroyed. Trump, okay? How did Trump get to where he is? Political maneuvering. Why is he president? Because he has a myth-making genius, okay? That's really important to understand about Trump. Everyone's like, Trump is a terrible business person. He's lost a lot of money. Trump doesn't understand tariffs. He doesn't understand the economy. He doesn't care. He understands mythology, okay? He understands how to capture people's attention. He knows how to instill an image of himself as a Messiah in people's minds. That's what he cares about, right? He doesn't need to succeed. He needs to act. And then he needs to present himself in a way that captures people's imagination. What does Trump spend all his time on? He spends all his time talking to the press. That's his job, okay? Do you understand? His job is not to think about economics or military matters, his job is to talk to the press and create an image of himself as a messiah to the American people. Okay? So the question then is, okay, well, listen, if we see this pattern, Napoleon, Caesar, Hitler are the same person, the results are the same, and Trump is similar to Napoleon, Caesar, and Hitler, what's going to happen? I don't know. Okay? All right? But, okay, and this is really important, if in fact, in the next 10 years, and it will probably take 10 years, if Trump actually destroys the American Republic, okay, then a pattern emerges in history. All right? And if this pattern is consistent, now we're able to control history because we're able to foresee and predict history. Okay? So that's the idea. Okay, that's it. Any questions? Was this clear to you guys? All right, good.
If Napoleon is so selfish, why would how to pronounce the man's name?
Robespierre.
Robespierre being so obedient for him.
Okay, that's a great question. Okay, why did Napoleon succeed where Robespierre failed? Okay, so the difference is this. If I'm Robespierre, I believe everyone is capable of reason, right? Therefore, you have a responsibility to reason for yourself. Do you understand? I will give you ideas, but you must come to your own conclusions. You must act independently of me, okay? And Napoleon's like, no. People don't want to think. People want to believe. People want to obey. If I present myself as Messiah, and I tell people, follow me, and I will lead you to paradise, people will want to follow me, okay? And people love this confidence, right? This charisma, this confidence of Napoleon. Think of Trump, right? Maybe you and I think Trump's an idiot, but if you're a normal person, you believe that Trump, he is a genius because he's so confident, right? People are attracted to confidence. Does that make sense? People aren't attracted to logic or reason and charisma. Trump tells everyone, follow me and the world will be fine. We will make America great again. And you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Doesn't matter, okay? What Trump has done is create a mythology that has captured people's imagination. And as such, people are willing to die for this. Does that make sense? That's what made Napoleon such a great military leader. Because he had this confidence. And people just had to follow him, okay? Does that make sense? Okay, great question. Any more questions?
So I don't understand how Trump is myth making. Like what's his steps?
Okay, myth making, okay? Myth making is, all right, there's reality. Okay, why is Trump a myth making genius? Okay, there's reality, right? These are things that you and I see every day. And then there's myths. These are ideas that we have about how society works, okay, about how the world works. Now, objectively speaking, Trump is a failed business person. His father was a great business person, Fred Trump, who built a real estate empire. And then Trump came along and took this empire over, and he almost bankrupted this empire, okay? And so Fred Trump was spending a lot of his time thinking about how to make money. Like, how do I make a great business? How do I hire good people? How do I motivate them? How do I steal more money from the government, okay? So he was focused on the very specifics of running a business. Trump is like, no, people don't want that. People want to see a successful billionaire, okay? And what's a successful billionaire? He sleeps with beautiful women, right? I'm going to find beautiful women, and I'm going to sleep with them, and the press is going to report it. And then people were like, oh my God, this guy is a god, because all these beautiful women want to sleep with him. Therefore, I should give him my money to spend, to invest, because he's a genius, okay? What people want is a mythology of success. Does that make sense? So what made Trump actually really famous is a show called The Apprentice. The Apprentice, it's a TV show, it's made up, and the show presents Trump as this extremely wise and forward-looking business person. And he's the opposite in reality, okay? But what Trump understands is really important is people don't care about reality. People want to watch a TV show that's exciting, that's interesting, that's fun. So if I turn politics into a TV show and everyone's watching all the time, they will always want me to be president. Does that make sense?
So they only care about what it looks like. Great.
Yeah, because, yeah, okay, so is perception more important than reality? And the answer is yes, okay? And the reason why is reality, it is very hard. It's very difficult, all right? People prefer simple ideas, simple myths that allow them to better navigate reality. That's why religion is important, okay? So what Trump's doing is he's creating a religion. He's creating a religion about himself, right? And it's really the same idea as Napoleon. Napoleon says this, right? I saw the way to achieve my dreams. I would found a religion. I saw myself as marching into Asia, mounted on an elephant, a turban on my head, and in my hand a new Quran that I would have composed to suit my needs. MAGA is a new religion, okay? Make America great again.
Okay. Should be topic number 4. Last topic for tonight. The secret to Donald Trump's success. Where do I want to begin with this one? Let me mix it up a little bit. Let me start with Sister Alma. Sister Alma or Cheryl. The secret to Donald Trump's success. We'll say it. All right, maybe Cheryl left. Let me go to, I guess, I Can Fire. I Can Fire, what say you?
Yeah. I don't really talk about white people much, but okay. And I wouldn't what you advise any immigrant to speak badly about um the present um the present
Without Robespierre, Napoleon
leadership.
would not have been possible.
So the present rulership, I don't think people is wise to, because they kind of rigid right now. I don't know about the secret of his success. I guess it's because he white. You feel me? That's his secret. Um, yeah, he lives off white privilege, and that's why he's defending it. You feel me? Um, as far as I'm concerned, most white people is just good at business because they are they are they have legacy money, and they have white privilege between each other. They see each other as somebody that's supposed to be successful. So I guess that's the reason. A lot of white people, most white people, is just because they don't want to be rich. Why they not rich? White people have the opportunity to be a lot of things. You feel me? But I don't really have much to say about him. You feel me? Except I would like the war. I would like the stuff in the Caribbean to stop, though. You feel me? That's what I would like. I would like all of that to stop. You feel me? Mm.
All right, thank you for that. Let me hear from Black Steel on this. Black Steel would say you.
So this is my thoughts on this situation, right? I don't necessarily disagree with everything he's saying, right? But the secret to Donald Trump's success, right, is that he appeals to a certain element of the American society, right? So the United States is a unbelievably racist country. Let's just put it out there, right? So what has happened over time is that just the sheer naked racism is just considered to be, so it was at one point considered to be unpalatable, right? You can't just come out and say nigger and darky or whatever type of racial slur you would talk about. There was a point in the United States history where people would literally advocate for lynching Black Americans on the U.S. Senate floor, right? But now you can't do that anymore. You know, you lose votes that way. But what happens is that even though Bush was racist and Reagan was racist and all the other Republicans and Democrats were racist, they didn't express it. They weren't vulgar with it. Donald Trump is the vulgar racist, right? He's the open racist. And he appeals. His open, naked racism is very enticing. He says the things that these racists want to say. And that is why he's so successful. I mean, he got fired from The Apprentice because he said some racist comments about Mexican people, only to turn around and become president of the United States. So Trump once said, I could kill somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue, and I would not lose votes. And he's absolutely right. He was not lying about that statement. He could, because what he does, he speaks to something within the white voter, right? Within the white American. You may be bad off. Your life might suck. You might not have health care. You might not have you can't retire because you got to work until the day you die, right? Your children are dying from opioids, but at least you're not Black. And I'm gonna make these Black people's life harder than what your life is. So that's one reason why he's so successful, because he appeals, he speaks the language of his base. And he feeds his base red meat from time to time. If you think him killing these people in Venezuela or murdering these people in international waters, right? That's not going to do anything about the drug trade. But what his base sees, oh, look at Trump being aggressive. He's going after those people bringing drugs to our community, right? So they feed on that. That's why he's successful, right? When he says, when you go to the federal website and it says the government is being shut down by the radical leftists. Huh? But I did check. It does say that. So when you have something like that, he's appealing to his base. He's appealing to that. He's successful because he's able to give the average white person the psychological bump that they need, and at the same time, he's working for the corporation, the big businesses behind the scenes, trying to steal whatever money that the American people might possess and deprive them of everything they have. So he's successful because he's able to walk in both worlds, right? But overall, I would say that just he's able to speak the language of these demons out here.
Well, look, can I say something?
Yeah, I need you to mute your mic when you ain't speaking, man. That noise be coming through. But go ahead, keep it brief.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice. Sorry. Hey, look, man. Listen. Perhaps if I had voted, I would have voted Republican. The reason is. Let me tell you the reason. I could never vote with the homos. It's just not possible. I could never vote with them, and I can't take seeing them. You feel me? I almost can deal with racism instead of dealing with those type of things. You feel me?
No, I don't feel you at all, actually.
Yeah,
I don't feel you at all. Because
actually,
the gay people are not the people that's causing the problems in the world.
yeah, I don't care about that. I don't care about that. I don't care about that. You feel me? I don't care about that. I can't deal with Sodom. I can't deal with seeing grown ass men acting like women.
But if they're not trying to sleep with you, what's the problem? If they're not messing with you.
I prefer to deal with racist.
Okay. All right.
Any day. I prefer to deal with the racist any day.
That's madness. But okay. Finish your thought there for me, I think.
Yeah, so all I'm saying is There is a lot of things that Trump is doing that I agree with. I don't agree with the Venezuela thing, but inside America, I agree with a lot of things that he's doing. You feel me? And I think it gonna benefit the country. You feel me?
Give me
I
an
think,
example. Like, what's an example of something you agree with he's doing?
he is tampering with food stamps and social housing. I think that's a good thing. You feel me? I think he should give it to men. I think he should give it social services to young men, 20 years old to 30, 35 years old. People, the whole society is turned upside down. You women cannot be good by themselves. If the man is not good, the woman cannot be good. So I think that social housing and what you call um food stamps, I think it should be granted to fathers. You feel me? And that he can house his woman and his children. You feel me? And the government support him to maintain his life while keeping a job. You understand? And grow from there. You feel me? The way they doing it, that's how the ghetto maintain. You feel me? So I think that's good what he doing. Only thing he's not, he should just turn it over to the other side. But he's not gonna do that. But and also the the soldiers. I think that it is good that he's putting these people in the neighborhoods. You feel me? That's um troublesome and all that stuff. I think that dudes need to cool the hell off. You feel me? And witches need to cool off also. You feel me?
So,
I
brother,
just
how are
love.
you a Rastafari and a Nazi at the same time? How is that possible?
I'm actually racist, dude. I only love black people. In case you didn't know.
Black
You
people
hear?
can't be racist. Black people cannot be racist, though.
Well, okay. I'm prejudiced. Well, me, I'm selfish. I just love black people alone. Don't love the rest of the people. I like them and I tolerate the rest of the people. But my love and loyalty is to just black people. See that? See that? Yeah.
I can
And
fire.
I don't want the manufacturing of homos in our community. How about that?
I can fire real quick. So Sarah in the chat wants to know where are you from, man?
Oh, Miss Rara, Miss Empress Ra. Me come from Jamaica, Empress. And you know that too. You feel me? You know that too, Empress. Me a Rasta.
She probably thought you was from St. Thomas or something like that.
No man, she know man. She a Jamaican. Be a part what she write, and she only write patwa. She don't write English. She writes patwa.
Let me
Mhm.
hear from let me
I have a
hear
question.
from yeah. Go ahead.
I have a question for my brethren, but I'll hold it until I finish. I can hold it until I finish. So I used to believe. By the way, it's very wise that Icon fire. Close your mic, Icon. Close your mic, brother. Close your
Oh
mic.
yes, yes.
Yeah. So it's very wise that Icon fire wanted to hold his powder because we living in a time when people are looking. By the way, this particular government that he endorsed, looking into these kinds of comments to find out who is who, so they'll kick them out of the country. But it's very wise that he wanted to hold his powder in commenting on the president. I don't know what the situation is in America, but it's wise to do that. But I would say this is the same kind of conversation I was having with Kofi before, because I used to believe and think that people made decisions based off of reason and not emotion. I used to believe and think that, right? So I used to believe and think if I had the greater argument in terms of having a conversation, having a reasoning with someone, if I had a greater reasoning, they would be able to come closer to me. But Trump has made me understand that people make decisions based off emotion and not reason. Reason comes later. They can justify their actions afterwards, but they probably gonna make a decision based off of their emotion. And Donald Trump has had the ability to trigger the emotions of many, many people. And this is what made him popular. And what I told Kofi is for the Democratic Party, if they want to appeal to the masses of people, they need to be less Harvard, trying to appeal to people on the Harvard kind of level, and be more WWE, be more WWF, because people are, they are moved based off their emotions rather than reasoning. But to my brethren icon, the only question I had for him, and this I have to come back to this. My brother said he only loved white people, black people. But do you believe that the president of the United States share your opinions on loving black people, brethren? Because all his policies is harming. Well, I understand where your perspective is, but some of his policies are harming black people. So you can't. I don't know if you could be. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
You can't have
I
it both
mean,
ways.
all right, listen. Maybe, maybe his policies will stop some of the twerking. You feel me? Maybe the policies will make a person reflect that they should be in defense of black people and stop walking around the earth like you was born by yourself. You just appeared on a goddamn clothesline. You feel me? You have no responsibility to your race. All these people need to get reality check. You feel me? Why you denying the unity of your race? Huh? Why are you not unified with your race? When are you going to deal with the infrastructure for your race? If people make you comfortable, that you think that everybody's supposed to be on Broadway and walking on Manhattan with white people and all that stuff. You feel me? If they don't get a reality check, when are we gonna wise up? It's the same thing going on in the Caribbean, where people think that them and white people is friends. You feel me? People think that them and white people gonna walk hand in hand on goddamn no beach. You feel me? And now look at them now. You feel me? White people flying planes all over us now. Anything can fall on any one of us now. And they're showing you that they never liked you. So why you not liking your own people? Forcing yourself on white people. That's what we've been doing, trying to force ourselves and tap dance for white people to like us. That's what we've been doing over the 60 years of most of us independence. You feel me? If it's even in secret, we should have been unifying clandestine type shit, hidden type shit, overt type stuff. You feel me? Or covert. I don't remember which one. You feel me? Secret type stuff. And unify and build bridges with each other.
So icon. So you
Yes.
believe, brother, that a ruthless slave master. Let me say ruthless slave master. But a man like Donald Trump could cause black people to be able to come together because he's so wicked in his ways.
Yeah,
He
it's
is
like it's like a bad thing happen, like a natural disaster type thing. You see me? Where you drop all your petty grievance, you drop all your dirty behaviors, and recognize your neighbor. See what I mean?
I understand. I understand. I
When-
just want to
when-
understand
Yeah,
what
when
you mean.
people need help, They'll grab at when people are drowning, they'll grab at a straw. You feel me? All this cockiness with each other. Oh, I'm better than you and you better than me and I'm lighter and you're here more soft or you're here more rough. All them type of little stuff we have destroying each other and destroying our economy that we're supposed to have. You feel
Yeah,
me?
but realistically, these guys like trying and mute your mic, I can say. These guys like Trump and them, they don't ever wake up the people. We've been going through this for how long now? These guys never wake up the masses like folks for some reason keep thinking will keep happening. Afro-Native World in the chat says that's why I've seen several black nationalist organizations root for Trump to awaken our people. I know that sounds a bit demented, but I've seen it several times. Yeah, that's and that to me is the weak part. That to me is the weak part. The thing we're supposed to be doing is avoiding guys like Trump while building up our character and our resolve and building up our power and our aims for power and stuff like that.
Yes.
You don't wait for Trump to come along. You don't wait for Trump to come along to somehow scare you. It doesn't work. Bush didn't scare you. The other Bush didn't scare you. It just does not work, and we got to get off of that. Like the Matrix says here. Hold on a second, brother. Like the Matrix says here. The Matrix says removing the social safety nets that guarantee contracts and jobs to black people is not black love. That's all that happens. A bunch of black folks who most likely have some sense, they get damaged. They're the ones who hurt. The other folks who wasn't about nothing, they'll still not be about nothing. That's the problem we have. Is the aware, the conscious. That's who's gonna get damaged. Cheryl, I had called on you earlier. I guess you didn't hear me when I called on you earlier, but Sister Cheryl, go ahead.
Yeah, like I guess I see what people are trying to say, but I think when people say they're calling on Donald Trump to wake people up, I don't think they're calling on him to wake people up. I think they're observing that people, black people who would have otherwise not have said nothing or would have not unified in the West are now doing so because he is in office. And you would see, like for instance, when Obama was in office, black people just thought life was great. Like black people just thought, and if Kamala Harris got in office, so many black people would just, oh, everything's great. Oh, we have a black woman in office. What do you have to complain about? And so for a white nationalist to come into office to show black people this is what this country is really about, because a lot of people were being disillusioned into thinking that this country, oh, it might be changing a little bit. It, for Donald Trump to be in office is a smackdown on the reality that this country is never going to change. And that's what a lot of people, a lot of
Yeah.
black people in this country are coming to grips with, and they can't handle it. And so, in that respect, I think it is a great thing that he's in office, because guess what? It's time for you to get up off your black ass and time for you to be a black nationalist, because he's a white nationalist. And you cannot hope or believe, there's nothing, it should be nothing in your mind to believe that we are going to be a united nation, that we are going to just frolic in the dandelions and just be great in this country. It's nothing. It's without a doubt, because Donald Trump is in office, is forcing black people to do what they have to do. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't like that, but unfortunately, if Obama was still in office, or if Kamala had gotten in office and we tried to talk like black nationalists, we tried to talk like bringing black people together from all backgrounds, black people just looked at you and laughed like, ha ha ha, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? We got a black female president. Everybody would be nonchalant, and everybody would be standing on the sidelines. So in that respect, I say it's great that he's in office.
I'll disagree in that the FBA and ADOS type of divisiveness has grown under Trump. I think we're more apart now than under Obama and them. So I don't see where Trump is changing anything. All Trump is doing is hurting a bunch of black folks, and
Okay. Hmm.
we'll see where that goes. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Cheryl.
No, I think I know what you're saying when you say the FBA thing, but the FBA thing was going to gain traction regardless of who was in office. He's just on a tirade, he's on a thing. Um, I mean, that was always going to be a thing. But I mean,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
terms of what I'm
was
saying is that
gone with Trump.
what I'm saying is that the West, in other words, it's not. How do I say it? It's like you see more unification now. That doesn't mean there's going to be an actual change for black people, but you see more like because there's a lot of black people who are conservative who just shut up and they just didn't say anything and they just kind of went about their day. Doesn't mean that their lives are going to be better. It doesn't mean that there's going to be I don't know, less hangings of black people under Donald Trump, because there was a lot of hangings of black people under Obama, and there was a lot of hangings under all of the administrations. So I mean, I mean, Donald Trump is just he's the final boss for black people, because black people never, especially if you're brand new to this country, most people ain't never seen nothing like this. So it's like, to them it's just like, oh my goodness, oh, this is so scary. But this is the white nationalism that we were talking about. When people didn't believe us about white nationalism, now they believe it.
I get one more question for my good brother Icon. One more question. One more question. Because he
Wanna
bring
trying
up
to extend the show for another hour here, I see. But go ahead,
no
Bonner.
no no that's the last question because he raised some points. Because I Icon bring up the homosexual issue, and I understand Icon, and I ain't far from it, I ain't far from it. But I got ask Icon something. So you can't vote for the homosexual vote because of the Democrats, but Donald Trump and Epstein is best friends, brethren. So he on Peter Island. So which one is my thing is which one is better than which? You know what I mean? You got the pedo or the homo. So it's like I want you to answer that. I want you to answer that. I got.
Um, well, well, the Democrats are the headmasters of that. Anyway, you feel me? Yeah, the Democrats and the homos, they're the headmasters of all that. So it's the same thing. Um, the reason why I be stating things like this is men should be tough. Men should be rough. You should have blisters on your in your hands and your elbows. Your elbows should be, you feel me, rough. You should go in dirt and plant stuff and all that stuff. You're not supposed to be out here being all feminine and stuff. You feel me? So what they want to do, the Democrats, if they had won, if they had won, there would be at least maybe um 50% more homos coming out the closet type shit. They would have homo 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 teaching as black history. That's what the Democrats was doing. The Democrats was planning on treating us like crabs, or the frog that you put in cold water but in a pot and light up a fire under it, and then you never notice until that the pot is gonna be hot until it's too late. That's how the Democrat do black people. You hear? They they slowly kill you. And they stab you in the back. They don't come with a knife in front of you. So that's what the Democrats is doing. They promote abortion and then they promote homo business. So all the women be sleeping in hotels together, and they want that for men also. You understand? And that just spells less people in the world, especially black people. You feel me? Because
So
they don't know nothing that's going on. And that nasty type of look, I don't want to pass those buggers beside on the street. I don't want them tricking the youth, making the youth think that that thing was a female. I don't like that type of stuff. It shouldn't be around children. It shouldn't be appearing like that around children. That's sexual abuse.
So
You
really
understand?
quickly, I wanna, and I can fire in Cheryl. So what you guys are talking about is accelerationism, right? Well, the conditions are already bad, right? And the hope is if we accelerate the bad conditions, right, then that'll prompt the people to make a change. Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court justice, is a big believer in accelerationism. He believes that black people will not respond unless their backs are completely against the wall. What that does is that it hurts a lot of people, and it doesn't even work. It doesn't work. So I hear what everybody's saying, but you cannot name one instance. Even now, more people are being united. Are they really? Because more people are out on the street, more people are stuck, more people losing their jobs.
Okay.
But
All right.
I don't see the benefit to that.
Oh, okay. Then tell me which administration you ever seen tampering with with housing security, housing, social housing, and food stamps. Which one? Which one? Reagan,
All of them,
name it.
all of them. Reagan definitely.
None of
Reagan.
them never. None of them never withdrew. I don't understand. Go ahead.
But Reagan was, Reagan was all about the whole thing about the welfare queen and the people buying buying sticks of their food stamps. So Reagan was actually the one who put it in process. Then it was Bush and Clinton who came up with the right to work. Every administration.
Yeah, but they never withdrew anything.
No, they've
It's
never taken
not
it away
this the
completely, but they
first
chip
time.
away at it over and over again. Even Trump
This the
hasn't taken it away completely.
this the first time we're seeing it being so radical.
But why is that a good thing, though?
Okay. For the black
I'm
family,
sorry.
right?
I don't want to see black children go hungry. I'm sorry. I don't
Let
want to
me
see.
let me just say this. Let me just say this, right? For the black family needs treatment. The black family needs women and men to live together, whether they poor or not. This what's going on. The relationships are splitting up. Pure baby daddies and baby mamas thing going on, and the family is being split down the middle and being destroyed. You feel me? And one of the main things that's destroying it, as I said earlier, is that they never gave men public housing. They never gave men the opportunity for food stamps, in which the men are the ones who was supposed to get that, and that would make a rounded family. That would maintain a rounded family for black and white. But what happened is they did it the other way. So when they gave women public housing, what they did is make the woman uh uh uh, uh promiscuous. They made the woman automatically become promiscuous and degrade herself. You feel me? And they know that. They know that's what's gonna go on. You feel me? And then they put it in a way where she can't keep one man. So she end up have a lot of different baby daddies. And that's what the society is doing. And it's all because of you gave the woman a house. What is she gonna do? Put a man up? And even if she could, you said no. So The real way things supposed to go is a man supposed to put a woman up. You feel me? And that would be balanced. So that's what destroy women, including white women also. You feel me? Because they gave women independence from men. You feel me? Both housing and even food. So it destroy the family. And I don't know about the rest of the family, but it destroyed the black family. It caused the woman not to see a reason to stay with each other, and a rift. So taking this away, I think it might be good. I think it might be good. Maybe a woman now maybe consider about leave first before she leaves her man, because
So the
the
only way to
economy.
get the woman to stay, they put her back to the wall. That's what we're saying. Only way we can get women to stay is if she's destitute and has no other choice.
It's not all right. It's listen. That's the reason she did it. That's the reason they got her to do it. So I think it would be logical that if you want things back the right way, you maybe have to take away these what you'd call um um it, parasitic privilege. It is parasitic privilege. It's something that destroy her family. You feel me? And you, so, so so you don't see it that way? Don't you see it that way?
No, I don't. We can agree to disagree, though.
Yeah.
I
So
didn't
you think that? Go ahead, sweetie.
I didn't know Icon was a hardcore Republican.
Oh, okay.
That's why. That's why.
Oh,
That's why.
I didn't know it was you, my bro. You know, I didn't know it was you, my
It's
bro.
good. It's good
But
though. It's
yeah,
good.
yeah, I have some. No, listen, we black people, Africans, we black people are actually conservative peoples. We have some liberalism, but we ain't totally liberal. We ain't liberal. We don't tolerate a bunch of stuff. What are you talking about? And who can tolerate their females roaming around the town? Women supposed to get married. Women supposed to get married at like 18, 19. That they don't get to. That they don't have the town running red. That's how it's supposed to be. But the society is trying to destroy. The society just don't know what genuine is and don't want genuine anymore. You feel me? Because that's what's going on. They're destroying characters. They want to destroy characters. They prefer the economy. It's like, how can an economy that owns slaves and rule off corruption, they don't know how to put things back in real place. But we are in general actually conservative. The liberalism is just coming through. All that stuff is just coming through since they got the propaganda going on. Am I lying? Um, um, Caribbean, Barbados dude, Bahamas dude. If you,
Icon. No, what I would say is this. What I would say is this. I want you to stay out of politics. I don't, because what you talking, the position you taking, right, is if we are a independent black country, how the independent black country is run, right? You are in the United States of America, right? And I understand your position, right? But in America, you can't. I mean, you could vote however the hell you want to vote, but most black people feel their grievance coming from a different place and perspective. And because we're coming from a different place and perspective, you have to respect that, brethren.
no,
If you
no,
was
no, no,
independent,
no, no, no.
okay, okay,
I listen. No, I'm agreeing with a particular demographic of the American public, of the Black American public. You feel me? A lot of Black Americans um um I this is how they see things. You feel me?
Yeah,
Especially.
but Trump don't love black people, Icon. He don't love black people,
No,
brethren. Let
but
him love black people.
I'm not talking about white people. I'm talking about black people. I ain't talking about Trump them. You feel me? I take the right to speak about all black people without being afraid. I ain't afraid of nobody when it comes to speaking about my people. You feel me? Yeah, that part.
Yeah, let's get some. You guys been going back and forth from. We ain't hear from Jacadero. I ain't too sure we heard from Black Steel proper. Black Steel, did I hear from you properly?
I was the first one to speak actually, but I'm good. I'm just sitting over here.
Jacadero. Jacadero, you've been listening to everything everyone else had to say. What say you?
I'm gonna be honest. There was so much dialogue that I don't remember the topic at hand from relating to the clip. The clip basically, this guy was explaining on why Americans fell in love with Donald Trump, and okay, so the secret to Trump's success, and one of the things that he pointed out that stood out to me was he said that he maybe Trump and his team realized that because of the lore, LORE, people love lore, and so his Trump's show, the Apprentice, was quote unquote reality TV, and so Trump and his team were saying, if in fact this really happened, because I don't take Trump to be a smart guy. Like I'm not with this whole. I'm not on the train where some black people are saying like, oh, Trump is a genius. I've never looked at Trump as somebody that was intelligent. This might be a little bit biased, but just watching him. I mean, I've seen a lot of white men living in America on TV. Trump was not one of these people that I was like, this guy could hold his own. No. So if in fact his team was saying to themselves that let's try to turn The Apprentice into a presidential campaign, and then once we get that Oval Office and let's go, let's set the Oval Office into a TV studio. I don't know. I don't think so. I think he just got lucky. Like I don't think enough of us just realized like in their country. Again, we're in their country. No matter what that pan multiculturalist guy said earlier, we're in their country. When you're in their country, like things are supposed to work out for you, and he just got really, really fortunate. Everything that he's been doing so far has been really fortunate. Again, this is a guy that last election he lost, and 3 states that he lost, ironically, were the 3 states that he won. that still mind boggles me. 3 states: Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia.
You know why?
Go ahead.
Because people was nauseous of the Democrats. People was
Okay.
nauseous.
All right. Yeah. Hold on, Icon. So to relating the secret to Donald Trump's success, I mean, maybe just maybe this was him planning. I think a lot of us should take into account like what happens when you plan and when you successfully execute a good plan. I will give him that, because I did think I saw a clip from maybe the 80s or the early 90s, him talking about if he were to ever get into politics, what side of politics would he be on? So maybe just maybe this was careful planning. And so I'll give him that. If it was planning and he got into that seat, great, because it's the same way that Kenya's President William Ruto had planned to become the president even back in the days of being a chicken farmer. So I will say that, like good job to him, because I do like it when men just in general, I like it when men win, and especially when men can plan strategically and execute a plan. So I'll give him that. I never thought that I would actually give Wazungu props, but we're gonna give him props just because planning is good, especially when you execute plan. Do I think he's intelligent? Absolutely not. No. I just think that he just got really, really lucky, and he's just been getting lucky. He's just been getting lucky, and good for him. It says a lot though about how this might relate, this might not relate, but mediocre Wazungu in the United States, they get the best. They climb status. For those that are in the music world, for the longest time, at least for the past 15 years, a country singer named Taylor Swift has arguably been labeled as a mediocre white woman. From the song lyrics to the singing to her stage performances, nothing stands out. But she gets top of the top accolades, top of the top acknowledgments. She's almost like white America's Beyonce, for lack of a better phrase. And so I think just in the United States, again, it's their country, is that when you're mediocre, but when you can do it at a high level, you're going to get rewarded. And I would just like to see more African countries do that. But the thing is, what Dr. Umar Ifatunde said once, he was like, we can't be mediocre because just being Black itself is extraordinary. So it won't happen to us the way that it happens in the United States. But again, the secret to Trump's success, you just whiten America, man. And good job for America, because it just shows us how nobody should be losing to this country. Nobody on any level. Nobody should be losing to this country. I think it was Black Steel that said it earlier. If countries that have a huge population of cattle herders or goat herders, I think he was referring to those countries in the Mideast. Afghanistan took the United States to a 20-year war and told the United States, hey, get the fuck out of our country. Get out of here. Get out of here. You're not this big bad wolf that everybody thinks that you are. North Korea, every 5 years, they're always challenging the U.S. Yo, send them missiles. Send them bombs that you be talking about. We want the smoke. They never send them. Pakistan has nukes or has nuclear weapons if they don't have nukes, and they've never gotten invaded. They always get threatened, but even India knows better. Hey, you can try it, but it ain't gonna happen. So, man, yeah, I hope I didn't go too much off topic. There was a lot that was said. I don't think it's anything. I don't think Trump should be impressive. I'm not impressed with him. Never been.
Appreciate that a bunch. That's the last topic for tonight, actually. I'd like to before people leave, because for some reason when it's time to give a shout out, people start to dash. But I'd like to get you guys to give me a shout out. Anything positive you saw in the Black world or that happened in your neck of the woods this past week. Just give me a shout out. Chat, do the same. I'll read your shout outs on the screen. Let me just go right down the line. We start with Jackadell. Jackadell, what's your shout out this week?
Two big shout outs. One, man, we in Kenya, we lost a career politician, arguably one of the most impactful politicians in Kenyan politics history, and his name was Raila Odinga. He passed away this week, and man, when I say career politician, he ran for president 5 different times, starting in the 90s, all the way up until 2022. He never got the seat, but he was always in government. Kenya's, some say second, because according to the constitution that was changed in 2010, but he was the prime minister of Kenyan's government at least once. And again, a career politician. My mom's area of Kibra in Nairobi, he was the minister of parliament for that area for 17 years. So impactful that Vibes Cartel gave him his due tribute in a recent video, and just people all over that. I didn't think that paid attention to Kenyan politics, gave their respects. So big shout out to the entire world that gave their respects to Raila Odinga. And then second shout out, the Empowerment Network. For those that don't know, I'm in Omaha, Nebraska, and I represent on behalf of the Empowerment Network. We call ourselves the consultant's consultant. We take care of everything from trade work, real estate, infrastructure, STEM programs, youth crime prevention, and everything outside and in between. We partner with sister cities: Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street, that's right, Little Rock, Arkansas, Houston, Texas, Memphis, Tennessee, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Kansas City, Missouri, and everything outside and in between. Once again, that's the Empowerment Network. Every year we put on a conference called the Rebuilding a Village Conference. 2 years ago, our keynote speaker was Magic Johnson. And then this year it was our first Black mayor, Mayor John Ewing. You want to be a part of the Empowerment Network? You want to come to the Rebuilding a Village Conference? Go ahead and reach on out to us. That's Facebook Empowerment Network and www.empoweromaha.com, the official website of the #1 Black empowerment organization here in the Midwest.
Appreciate that, Jack Adaro. Black Steel, what would you like to show this week?
Just want to shout out D'Angelo passed away, famous singer, 51 years old, pancreatic cancer. But my brothers, so many of us are dying at a young age. Just make sure you get checked out, man. Make sure you get checked out. Watch your health, eat right, exercise. Get checked out by your doctor, because we lost a good one. That one kind of hurt, because I grew up on his music. He only came out with 3 albums, but each of his albums was an absolute banger. But even though, like I said, 51 is still a young man. So rest in peace to him. And I'm thinking about his son, because his mother, Angie Stone, died from a car accident not even a few months ago. So his son lost both of his parents in a very short period of time. So thinking about him in this situation. So that's the only thing I have to say.
Yeah, you took my shout out, but yes, shout out to Black Steel, and shout out to him for shouting out D'Angelo, man. That's a heavy loss, because you don't see D'Angelo all the time, but every 10 years or something he'll drop an album that's fire, and when you hear about him now is that he died. That's kind of tough, man. But appreciate that, Black Steel. With that said, Sister Cheryl, what would you like to shout out this week?
I'll be scrambling, just trying to look for something positive. I found this young girl in the area of science and tech, young Black American girl. Her name is Deja Taylor, 17 years old. She was honored for creating color-changing sutures that can detect infection. That was something that she entered into the Regeneron Science Talent Search. So that's in the field of tech. There's another young, I think is that a girl? Jeanette? I think that's a girl, where she developed an app to help kids keep in touch with their parents who are incarcerated. And pretty much that was just cutting out costly prison phone and mail fees. I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't know that was a big thing, but apparently they have an app for that now. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, both of those are pretty cool. Thanks for sharing that with us. I appreciate you, Sister Cheryl, for being here this week. So shout out to you, actually, because you came through and hung with us for pretty much all the prompts we did tonight. And we, like I said before, and I say every week almost, we really do need that woman's intuition, that woman's thought on some topics. I'm sorry, you want to add something?
Oh no, I'm good.
So yeah, so thanks to you, and shout out to your husband too, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I can file. What would you like to shout out this week?
Yeah. Shout out to everyone on the panel. I also would like to shout out Namibia, people of Namibia. You feel me? President of Namibia. I like her behavior. And shout out to the Sahel, you feel me? And shout out to Kenya. That's it.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Last but not least, Bottom, would you like to shout out this week?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If you can hear me,
Yeah, we
shout
got
out.
it.
Yeah, shout out first of all to D'Angelo. He made one of the greatest records ever. That Voodoo album was one of the greatest albums ever. So shout out to his talent and his gifts. You know what I mean? He's with the ancestors now. Shout out to him, bro. Shout out to Black Steel and Icon Fire. Even though they are completely different, they are on two different sides of politics. They was able to carry on a civil discussion. This Icon Fire I really appreciate. You know what I mean? Right? I like the fact that we was able to have a brotherly conversation even though we disagree. So shout out to Icon.
Lightning.
Let me finish, right? Let me finish. So shout out to Icon
Fire.
Fire and Black Steel for
Burning,
having.
burning.
Let me finish, brother. So shout out to the two brothers for having a civil discussion, even though they disagree. Shout out to them. And to Icon Fire, last but not least, Icon Fire love black people. He love black people, and I know he love black people. But in America, black people are Republican. That's just a matter of fact. That's a matter of fact. But I would say the only thing I would ask, you love black people, regardless of where they come from. You're in America. Don't actively do nothing to harm them if it means voting for people like a white supremacist like Donald Trump, brother. Just consider that. Just consider. I say you ain't gonna do what you want to do.
I didn't vote. I didn't vote because I think it's none of my business. You feel me?
Yes, sir.
So I didn't vote. I just said that if I would vote, it almost wouldn't matter what the Republicans is doing as long as they're against homos. I would vote for them. You feel me?
I hear you. So
Yeah,
so that's really all I wanted to say. Respect to all the brothers.
Respect. Respect hosts, respect my people.
Yeah, so if Kofi come on, because Kofi and I mean, yeah, the hardcore Democrats, if they come on, I would like to hear y'all engagement. But I appreciate the conversation and respect to everyone. I'll leave it there.
Yes, indeed. So that's the show for tonight. We should be back next week. I might, based on how my computer is carrying on, I have to ask Jackadera to host. But we'll see how that goes. In any event, join the Discord if you haven't already, and be active on the Discord, man. When you see the add everyone type thing, is a conversation that I think everyone should be able to chime in with. I hit an ad last week. I'll do it again tomorrow for music of the week. Drop your music. I know Black Steel spoke on it. D-Web spoke on it. I'll drop another one this week. You guys add music. I mean, we're from all over the world here. We got folks in the Caribbean, folks from West Africa, East Africa, Black America, etc. So, please do your part. Drop some music, but it might be D'Angelo this week, right? For a lot of you. So drop it. Let's put together a top 10 and let's engage one another as much as we can. In any event, man, I'll see you guys next week. Oh, by the way, sorry. Trigger Happy, his shout out is he watched Hiru Ofori Atta's presentation on health. Really good information and kind of relates here. Shouts out to him. So shout out to all of you. Shout out to Sister Raw, Sister Cheryl, the matron, Daily Affirmations by Pauline, Joe, all the women who participated tonight in the chat, etc. Shout out to all of you. We'll see you guys next week. Until then, you guys be good. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, We hope you pass along our web address, bitamedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Beta Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Beta Medicine Show, Twitter, Beta Meds, Tumblr, Beta Meds, Instagram, Beta Medicine.